Chapter 769. Trash. Are you all trash? Are you all trash? Ningyu was right. Kumo knew his body's condition very well. The devouring power in his body could only be described as terrifying. Even though Kumo's cultivation had reached the half-step to supreme martial artist realm, he could not do anything to him. He could not fight against him in a short period of time. However, Kumo was not fighting alone. Although he could not use any spells in a short period of time, the 4 late-stage manifestation realm pill puppets that he had brought with him were unscathed and did not suffer any injuries. Given that, Kumo was not very worried. As long as the 4 late-stage manifestation realm pill puppets could successfully subdue Ningyu, he would be fine today. Otherwise, he would die a horrible death. Thinking of this, Kumo shouted, "I'll give you 3 minutes to subdue this kid. Otherwise, all of you can die." Swoosh, 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 swoosh. The 4 late-stage manifestation realm pill puppets knew that they had no other choice. After hearing Kumo's words, they immediately rushed out and swept toward Ningyu. Go! Seeing the 4 late-stage manifestation realm pill puppets rushing toward him, Ningyu did not say a word and immediately flew into the distance in a flash. Ningyu was not a fool. His cultivation was a whole level lower than the pill puppets. It was dangerous to fight one-on-one, let alone 4 late-stage manifestation realm pill puppets. Moreover, Hongmo had said that he would buy him half an hour. As long as he could hold on for half an hour, Hongmo would be able to completely refine Kumo. Given Ningyu's current state, the only way for him to persist for half an hour was to escape. There was no other way. Therefore, Ningyu wrapped his primordial chi around his ankles and instantly rushed out. Fortunately, the 4 late-stage manifestation realm pill puppets were stubborn and all of them followed behind Ningyu. If 1 or 2 of them stayed behind, Mu Feng and the rest would most likely be killed on the spot. Trash, you're really King Trash. Stay. Fart. The late-stage creation realm Dan Jiyu was stubborn, but Kumo was very smart. Kumo shouted angrily when he saw the 4 pill puppets chasing after Ningyu. However, how could the red fiend let the withered fiend cry out again? Before Kumo could finish his words, the red devil increased its devouring power, frantically devouring Kumo's yuan chi and soul force. Kumo spat out a mouthful of blood as he ignored Ningyu and the others. Instead, he threw himself into the battle with Red Demon. What should we do now, All President? After Ningyu disappeared, old ancestor Jumo asked anxiously, unwilling to give up. There's no other way. Mu Feng shook his head and said, unless that senior at the peak of the creation stage appears, no one can save Ningyu. Woof woof. Although Furball and the Dark Emperor were heavily injured, their hearing was not damaged, so they naturally heard what Mu Feng said. Fear, helplessness, and anger. Furball and the Dark Emperor had mixed feelings, but there was nothing they could do. Although their cultivation had reached the half-step to the creation stage, they would still die if they faced a late-stage creation stage pill puppet. Moreover, they were still heavily injured. Even if they faced a primordial core stage pill puppet, they would be killed mercilessly, let alone a late-stage creation stage pill puppet. Buzz. On this side, Mu Feng and the others basically didn't have any hope for Ningyu. On the other side, Ningyu was trying his best to escape. 25 minutes left. Ningyu calculated the time as he ran. 5 minutes had passed since he had left. Bang! 25 minutes might be a short time, but for Ningyu, it was like a heavenly moat that was difficult to cross. Just as Ningyu was thinking about how to endure the 10 minutes, he was struck in the back by a pill puppet that had caught up to him. His body fell straight forward. Fortunately, Ningyu tried his best to adjust his body so that his ankles touched the ground first. Otherwise, this attack would be enough to send him to meet the King of Hell. Brat, I advise you to go back with us obediently. Otherwise, you'll have to bear the consequences. One of the late-stage creation stage pill puppets stared at Ningyu and did not attack immediately. Instead, he berated, "You're only at the late-stage yin-yang realm. If we want to kill you, it'll be easier than squashing an ant." The reason why the late-stage creation stage pill puppet did not attack immediately was not because they were afraid of Ningyu's strength. It was because a small branch had appeared in Ningyu's hand at some point. At the top of the branch, there was a flower bud. The flower bud was rather unique. It had a total of 8 petals, but only 4 of them had bloomed. You guys seem to be very afraid of this flower bud in my hand. Ningyu waved the flower bud in his hand and said hesitantly, "If you guys like it, I can give it to you." Fox exploiting tiger's might. Using this word to describe Ningyu now was the best. The flower bud indeed had a restraining effect on pill puppets. Moreover, it could restrain late-stage creation stage pill puppets. However, the prerequisite was that the late-stage creation stage pill puppets had to be occupied and unprepared. Just like when the 4 late-stage creation stage pill puppets fought with the silver-winged dragon and the rest, they could not split themselves. In the current situation, Ningyu could not use the flower bud to threaten the 4 late-stage creation stage pill puppets in front of him. Humph. Do you think we'll be afraid of the flower bud in your hand? Another late-stage creation stage pill puppet snorted coldly. Although he said that he was not afraid, the late-stage creation stage pill puppet's feet retreated in an unnatural manner. Since the late-stage creation stage pill puppet did not take the initiative to attack, Ningyu would not foolishly use the flower bud to devour them. Both sides did not attack. For a moment, the situation became delicate. The pill puppets did not attack naturally because they were afraid of the flower bud in Ningyu's hand. Ningyu did not attack with the goal of stalling for time. 20 more minutes. Time ticked by, and Ningyu was also secretly calculating the time. 15 more minutes. With every passing minute, Ningyu would recite in his heart. As long as he could hold on for another 15 minutes, he could go back. Once the red devil completely devoured the withered devil, the energy contained in the withered devil's body would be enough for Mu Feng and the rest to recover to their peak state. At that time, wouldn't it be a piece of cake for everyone to encircle the 4 late-stage creation stage pill puppets? Rumble. However, things did not develop in the direction that Ningyu had imagined. 5 minutes before the half-hour deadline, one of the late-stage creation stage pill puppets gritted his teeth and instantly charged out. Solitaire. Seeing that his plan had been exposed, Ningyu hurriedly waved the red devil sword in his hand and slashed down a sword wave. Kai Kai. However, the sword wave that Ningyu slashed out did not even last for a second in the hands of the late-stage creation stage pill puppet before it was completely destroyed. Swoosh. 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 Chapter 770. Backup. 5 more minutes. I have to hold on no matter what. Ningyu took a deep breath as he looked at the 4 pill puppets charging at him. Then he waved the red demon sword in his hand. Swish, swish, swish. In an instant, numerous sword ripples shot into the sky and formed a huge sword ripple formation around Ningyu. Come out. Ningyu knew that the sword ripple formation would not be able to hold off the 4 pill puppets for long. He gritted his teeth and summoned the golden core in his consciousness. Ever since Ningyu had been reborn, he had never used his golden core against an enemy. Although using a golden core could increase one's strength by several levels, it was also very dangerous. If the golden core was destroyed by an enemy, the consequences would be dire. Therefore, no one was willing to use their golden core against an enemy unless it was absolutely necessary. Whoosh. Whoosh. Ningyu was right. The sword ripple formation he had set up could only hold off the pill puppets for a minute. A minute later, the 4 pill puppets tore apart the sword ripple formation and charged at Ningyu once again. Go. At this time, Ningyu actually calmed down. Having lived 2 lives, Ningyu understood a principle. The more dangerous the moment, the calmer one had to be. There was still a chance of survival if one remained calm. If one was not calm, only death awaited them. As Ningyu growled, a huge pillar of primal chi shot out from the golden core above Ningyu's head. In midair, the pillar of primal chi split into 4 and attacked the 4 pill puppets. Child's play. None of the pill puppets found the pillar of primal chi troublesome. They were all very confident. Boom. It turned out that the 4 pill puppets were completely right in their confidence. The pillar of primal chi that shot out from Ningyu's golden core could not do anything to the 4 pill puppets and was easily dispersed by them. The sword ripple formation and the pillar of primal chi were completely dispersed. This meant that the 2 lines of defense that Ningyu had set up had failed. With the defense failing, it was clear that Ningyu would have to face the 4 late creation realm pill puppets head-on. Close combat. Ningyu's soul strength had reached peak rank 6, and his mentality was stronger. In close combat, he did not lose immediately. In the first minute, Ningyu and the 4 late-stage creation realm pill puppets were evenly matched. No one could do anything to the other. The reason Ningyu was able to fight the 4 late-stage creation realm Dan puppets to a draw was not because Ningyu was powerful, but because the 4 late-stage creation realm Dan puppets were still afraid of the flower bud. Otherwise, with the strength of a late-stage creation realm Dan puppet, how could Ningyu be safe? I have to think of something. Ningyu's eyes turned as he thought of a countermeasure. Ningyu was very smart. Since Dan Kai, who was in the later stage of the creation realm, was afraid of the flower bud, then he would make good use of it. Wait. The next moment, Ningyu forcefully threw out a punch, and then hurriedly retreated, shouting, "I'm willing to go back with you, but I have a condition. Me. A loser has no right to negotiate." Hearing Ningyu's words, the 4 late-stage creation realm Dan puppets stopped. However, the 4 late-stage creation realm Dan puppets stared at the flower bud in Ningyu's hand with burning eyes. "My condition is very simple. If you promise not to control me and let me go back with you, I can give this flower bud to you." Ningyu used the great deception art and began his journey of deception. "Give us the flower bud." Hearing this, the 4 late-stage creation realm Dan puppets widened their eyes, secretly calculating in their hearts. The flower bud had a restraining effect on them. If they could obtain the flower bud and force out the method to use it, they would be invincible in the other pill caverns in the future. Even if they encountered a supremacy realm Dan puppet, they would be able to fight them head-on. This temptation was huge, and it was impossible to refuse. "That's right, but you have to promise not to control me. Otherwise, we'll split up. I'll destroy the flower bud and self-destruct at the same time." Ningyu nodded. He did not even hesitate to use self-destruction as a threat. "Do you think we're 3-year-olds? If you dared to self-destruct, you would have done it long ago. Why would you wait until now?" One of the late-stage creation realm Dan puppets was very smart. He almost saw through Ningyu's scheme. However, Ningyu's great hoodwinking technique was layered in layers. How could he be seen through so easily? Cough, cough. Ningyu coughed dryly and said calmly, "It's not that I don't want to self-destruct, but I'm thinking for your sake." Thinking for our sake. The 4 Dan puppets were a little confused. How did he become thinking for their sake? "Hehe, the order you received was to control me and bring me back." Ningyu smiled faintly and continued, "If I self-destruct, it means that your mission has failed. Think about it, what kind of reaction would Kumo have when he finds out that you've failed your mission?" "That's right, when I used the flower bud to control your companions just now, Kumo did not come forward to help. Instead, he berated you." With Ningyu's words, even a person with a higher IQ would inevitably believe him. Moreover, the 4 late-stage creation realm Dan puppets were not very intelligent. They were far inferior to Kumo. Ningyu had expected them to fall for his trick. As expected, Ningyu's guess was right. The 4 late-stage creation realm Dan puppets had fallen for his trick. However, they did not fall for it completely. There was a condition. "Brat, you must first hand over the flower bud." One of the Dan puppets said in a deep voice, "We won't be at ease leaving the flower bud in your hands." "As you wish." Hearing that, the corners of his mouth curled up into an undetectable smile. Then, he flicked his wrist and threw the flower bud. Swoosh, seeing that the flower bud was thrown by Ningyu, the 4 Dan puppets waved their sleeves. Immediately, 4 rays of cold light flew out and controlled the flower bud from 4 different directions. "Brat, let's go. You'll be in front, and we'll be behind. We'll say the ugly words first. If you dare to play any tricks, don't blame us for being impolite." Although the 4 late-stage creation realm Dan puppets did not allow Ningyu to play any tricks, they secretly placed their palms behind their backs. Sneak attack. The 4 late-stage creation realm Dan puppets were not inexperienced. On the surface, they had agreed to Ningyu's request, but in reality, they wanted to sneak attack him. They would only be at ease if they personally controlled Ningyu. The worst thing was that they wanted to hide the flower bud and control Ningyu. Then, they would force Ningyu to tell them how to control the flower bud. Betrayal. This was the best description for the 4 Dan puppets. If a person did not have dreams, no, if the Dan puppets did not have dreams, what difference was there between them and salted fish? The dream of the 4 Dan puppets was very simple. They wanted to use the flower bud to control and devour Kumo. If the 4 of them devoured a half-step venerable Kumo, they might even advance to the peak of the creation realm. Success or failure depends on this. What the 4 Dan puppets did not know was that the mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. Chapter 771. The petals grow bigger. Ningyu's backup plan was not very big. In fact, it was just a small backup plan. However, it was this small contingency plan that was very likely to become the key to Ningyu's comeback. Shua 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 shua. Inside the pill cavern, 5 figures rapidly streaked across the sky. The 5 figures were clearly divided. There was 1 at the front and 4 at the back. The figure at the front was naturally Ningyu. The 4 figures at the back were the 4 late-stage manifestation stage pill puppets. However, a flower bud was suspended in the middle of the late-stage manifestation stage pill puppets. The flower bud was not very big. It was attached to a small branch and 4 of its 8 petals were in full bloom. Attack! 3 minutes later, 2 pill puppets shouted and charged at Ningyu. These pill puppets had a clear division of labor. 2 of them charged at Ningyu in an attempt to subdue Ningyu. The other 2 stayed behind to watch the flower bud and prevent it from unleashing its power. Although Ningyu did not turn his head, he was constantly paying attention to the 4 pill puppets behind him. When he saw the 2 pill puppets charging at him, Ningyu's eyes widened. He hurriedly turned his head and shouted, "Come out!" As Ningyu shouted, a terrifying gas burst out of the flower bud. Rumble. A rumble rang out, instantly causing the 4 late manifestation stage pill puppets to be stunned on the spot. Saint Chi. What rushed out of the flower bud was none other than Saint Chi. This is my chance. The brief days of the 4 late-stage manifestation stage pill puppets gave Ningyu an opportunity. In a fight between experts, even a split second of distraction could be the key to victory, let alone the 4 late-stage manifestation stage pill puppets in front of him. A split second? Perhaps 3 or 4 seconds. In short, the 4 late-stage manifestation stage pill puppets days gave Ningyu a great opportunity, and Ningyu firmly grasped it. Whoosh! In the next instant, Ningyu charged forward with the red demon sword in hand. Puff! Puff! The speed at which Ningyu attacked with his sword was extremely fast. It was so fast that the red demon sword stabbed into the hearts of the 2 late-stage creation realm Dankai. The 2 late-stage creation realm Dankai did not even have time to react. Flower bud, come out. As the saying goes, life is like a play, and it all depends on acting skills. Ningyu's acting was very realistic. In order to put on a good show, Ningyu even faked Danhua's flower bud. The flower bud just now wasn't real. The real flower bud was still in Ningyu's hands. After the flower bud appeared, it did not stop at all. It immediately rushed toward the 2 late-stage creation realm pill puppets whose hearts had been pierced by Ningyu. Buzz! The flower bud devoured them very quickly. In just a second, the 2 late-stage creation realm elixir puppets were completely devoured and turned into skeletons. You're courting death. When they saw their companions being devoured by the flower bud, the eyes of the remaining 2 late-stage creation realm pill puppets shone with a terrifying light. They instantly arrived in front of Ningyu and punched Ningyu's chest. In the face of the attacks from the 2 late-stage creation realm pill puppets, Ningyu merely summoned the Yuan Qi in his golden core and wrapped it around his wrist, casually blocking the attacks. When they saw Ningyu's appearance, the 2 late-stage creation realm pill puppets felt that something was amiss. However, the current situation did not allow them to think too much. With a cold glint in their eyes, they simultaneously punched Ningyu's chest. Bang! Bang! Although his chest had been struck by the 2 late-stage creation realm pill puppets, Ningyu still opened his mouth and laughed. Let's see if you can still laugh later. Not good. Ningyu's actions made the two late-stage creation realm pill puppets very angry as they viciously said. However, before the two late-stage creation realm pill puppets could finish their words, their expressions changed drastically and they hastily retreated. However, since Ningyu had made such a huge sacrifice, he would definitely not allow them to escape. Berserk energy undulations appeared on Ningyu's hands as he instantly pushed them out. Life and Death Palm. These two palms from Ningyu could be said to be the most powerful attack he could unleash at this stage. In order to achieve a one-hit kill, Ningyu did not hesitate to use all his Yuan Qi, Blue Spirit Fire, Soul Power, and even Zun Jianwen's Yuan Qi from his storage ring to wrap around his palms. Poochie. Poochie. Reality proved that there was a reward for effort. Ningyu's two palms without holding anything back had both landed on the bodies of the two late-stage creation realm pill puppets. Although he did not strike their hearts, these two palms were enough to reduce their battle strength by several times. Swoosh. The flower bud loved to deal with late-stage creation realm pill puppets whose battle strength had been reduced by several times. The division of labor between Ningyu and the flower bud was very clear. Ningyu was in charge of injuring the pill puppets, while the flower bud was in charge of devouring them. What happened next could be predicted. When the flower bud devoured the two late-stage creation realm pill puppets, its fifth petal had already bloomed. As the petal bloomed, the flower bud's devouring power increased a little. The flower bud's devouring power increased, while the pill puppet's strength decreased. Everything indicated that Ningyu had achieved a complete victory in his battle with the four-pill puppet. After a series of hysterical screams, the two late-stage creation realm pill puppets were completely devoured by the flower bud. I'm very weak now. Hurry up and transfer the excess energy to me. After this battle, Ningyu had expended a lot of energy. It was best to describe him as being completely powerless. It could be said that even an innate realm martial artist could easily defeat Ningyu now. Fortunately, the flower bud devoured the four late-stage creation realm pill puppets and could transfer some energy to Ningyu. Otherwise, Ningyu would have to recuperate for at least a few days to recover to his peak condition. Whoosh! The flower bud could not retain any excess energy in its body. Therefore, it did not hold back and transferred all the excess energy in its body to Ningyu. As for Ningyu, he sat down cross-legged and circulated the spirit transformation technique to absorb the pure energy crazily. As time passed, Ningyu recovered faster and faster. Based on the speed of energy absorption, Ningyu would probably be able to recover to his peak condition in a few minutes. In fact, Ningyu might even reach the peak of Yin-Yang realm. Bam! However, 5 minutes later, Ningyu was dumbfounded. The reason why Ningyu was dumbfounded was not because he had not recovered to his peak condition, but because the flower bud had stopped transferring pure energy to him the moment he recovered to his peak condition. Not only did the flower bud stop transferring energy make Ningyu dumbfounded, but it also made him dumbfounded. One must know that the flower bud had devoured 4 mid-stage creation realm pill puppets previously, and the energy it returned was more than what it was now. Why was the energy it returned after devouring 4 late-stage creation realm pill puppets was so little? Could it be because it has bloomed its 5th and 6th petals? Ningyu frowned slightly and stood up from the ground. He stared at the flower bud's 5th and 6th petals and mumbled to himself. The 5th and 6th petals were a little special. Chapter 772. Refining Spirit Body. Until now, Ningyu still did not understand the use of the petals. Whether it was the 4 smaller petals that had bloomed before or the 2 larger petals that had just bloomed, Ningyu had no idea. There are still 2 more petals. When you truly bloom, everything will be revealed. Seeing as he couldn't find out the effects of the flower petal in a short period of time, Ningyu decided to leave it be for now. Instead, he placed it into his storage ring. Following that, Ningyu raised his speed to the limit and rushed towards the area where the Red Devil and the others were. The Red Fiend had said that he would buy him half an hour. Now that half an hour had passed, Ningyu naturally had to return to see if the Red Fiend had refined the Withered Fiend. For some reason, in Ningyu's heart, he always felt that things were not so simple. No matter what, Kumo was still a half-step supreme being. He wouldn't be so easily controlled by Hong Mo. Moreover, The Red Fiend was not using the Red Fiend sword. He was only relying on his body to fight the Withered Fiend. Not good. Suddenly, Ningyu thought of a possibility. Self-destruct. The only way for the Red Fiend to subdue the Withered Fiend was probably to self-destruct. If Hongmo were to self-detonate in Kumo's stomach, Kumo wouldn't be able to do anything even if he was a half-step supreme being. Whoosh. Thinking of this, Ningyu decided to speed up and move forward at full speed. This was because Ningyu was afraid that if he was one step late, the Red Fiend might self-destruct and perish together with the Withered Fiend. Although Ningyu was advancing at full speed, he wouldn't be able to reach the Red Fiend in a short period of time. At this time, the Red Devil was galloping back and forth in the Withered Devil's body, feeling invincible. As for Kumo, his forehead was covered in sweat, as if he had been tortured beyond recognition. Every time Red Devil increased its devouring power, Withered Devil would let out a blood-curdling scream. In the end, Kumo's entire forehead was covered in beads of sweat, his cheeks were completely pale, and his aura was extremely weak. However, even though Withered Demon was in such a state, Red Demon did not dare let down his guard. Furthermore, not only did Hongmo not dare to let his guard down, even Mu Feng and the others who were lying on the ground beside him did not dare to let their guard down. Kumo was a half-step supreme being. Unless he was completely killed, there was a chance for him to rise again. Once the Withered Devil rose again, it would truly be the end of everyone. Everyone, seize the time to rest and try to recover your combat strength as soon as possible. Seeing that the Withered Demon was still standing firmly in place and had not been killed, Mu Feng's expression became more and more unsightly. He shouted in a deep voice, "We don't even know if Ningyu is dead or alive. If we just sit here and wait for death, we'll be losing face for Ningyu." When Ouyang Lun and the others heard Mu Feng's words, they silently circulated their spells to recover. Mu Feng was right. Ningyu had lured away 4 late-stage Creation Realm pill puppets by himself. Not only had he bought time for the Red Fiend, but he had also bought time for them. Although Mu Feng did not say it, everyone knew that Ningyu's chances of survival were minuscule, to the point that it could even be ignored. Ningyu had sacrificed his life to buy time for them, how could they waste it? Come out. However, just as everyone was trying their best to recover, the Withered Demon's eyes suddenly burst forth with a frightening light. He clenched his right hand into a fist and suddenly plunged it from his chest to his stomach. Whoosh! The Withered Demon's action directly stunned Mu Feng and the others. Damn it, isn't this too cruel? As it turned out, the Withered Demon's cruelty was justified. In Withered Demon's hand was a small ball of red gas. This red gas was abnormally violent, and there was also a dense devouring power emanating from it. Not good. It's the Red Fiend. Mu Feng and the others did not know the Red Fiend, but the Dark Emperor was very familiar with the Red Fiend. The moment the Dark Emperor saw the red gas in Withered Demon's hand, he determined that it was the Red Fiend, but it had transformed into a gas. The spiritual body of a monarch flying sword. If I erase your spiritual consciousness and then devour it, I might be able to recover a little. Withered Demon looked at the red gas in his hand and laughed sinisterly. In the battle with the Red Fiend for another half an hour, Withered Demon could be said to have suffered greatly. He had tasted the ups and downs of the human world. No, it should be the world of pills. It was this kind of endurance that allowed Withered Demon to find the Red Fiend's flaw and seize it. He did not hesitate to mutilate himself as the price to finally capture the Red Fiend. For this moment, Withered Demon had paid a great price. Right now, Withered Demon's true battle strength had dropped from the half-step honorable realm to the late-stage manifestation realm, and it was even infinitely close to the mid-stage manifestation realm. Bang! Suddenly, a muffled sound rang out from Withered Demon's sea of consciousness. At this moment, Withered Demon's battle strength had dropped from the late-stage manifestation realm to the mid-stage manifestation realm. I originally planned to keep you alive to study you, but it seems that you won't be so lucky now. After his battle strength dropped to the mid-stage manifestation realm, Withered Demon no longer had the desire to tease the Red Fiend. After saying that, he raised his hand and grabbed the Red Fiend, sending it to his mouth. Swoosh! However, before Withered Demon could send the Red Fiend into his mouth, A cold light streaked across the sky and appeared in front of him. The sudden change caused Withered Demon's expression to change drastically, and he hastily retreated. Rumble. Fortunately, Withered Demon had retreated in time. Otherwise, that cold light would have been enough to make him suffer. Brat, you actually didn't get killed. Withered Demon's eyes widened as he stared at the skinny martial artist who had suddenly appeared in front of him. His face was filled with disbelief. Withered Demon had never imagined that a martial artist who was merely at the late-stage yin-yang realm could escape from 4 late-stage manifestation realm pill puppets. It didn't make sense, it really didn't make sense. 4 mere late-stage manifestation realm pill puppets want to kill me? Dream on. Ningyu took a deep breath and said in a deep voice. I don't care whether you've been killed or not. In short, you have 2 choices now. Withered Demon did not want to be entangled with Ningyu for too long. He coldly snorted and said, "First, obediently open your mind and let me control you. Second." At this point, Withered Demon paused for a moment. Subsequently, Withered Demon waved the red gas in his hand and said in a sinister voice, "This spiritual body was killed by me. You will also be killed by me. I'm telling you now, I don't want to accept either of your 2 requests." Ningyu said indifferently, "If I'm not wrong, your true battle prowess is only at the mid-stage manifestation realm. Do you think the current you is a match for me? If I can kill 4 late-stage manifestation realm pill puppets, I can easily kill you, whose battle prowess has dropped to the mid-stage manifestation realm." Ningyu spoke very slowly. Every word that landed in Withered Demon's heart was like thunder, causing his expression to turn uglier and uglier. Good, very good, very good. At this moment, Withered Demon revealed his wise side as a half-step Supreme Being pill puppet. The corner of his mouth curled up as he said with a faint smile, "Since you've put it this way, there's no need for me to keep this spiritual body." Chapter 773. Disappearing mysteriously. Kumo didn't go back on his word. He said he would refine the Red Devil, and he didn't make Ningyu wait any longer. A wisp of green flame appeared on Kumo's wrist, burning the Red Devil's gaseous form. It was ranked 200th on the Mystic Flame list, the Green Devil Flame. To be honest, when Ningyu saw the Mystic Flame on Kumo's wrist, he felt like he was in deep shit. What kind of joke was this? A pill puppet that stayed in the pill cavern all year round and could only leave the pill cavern after reaching the supremacy stage actually had a Mystic Flame? No one would believe it if word got out. But the reality was that F***ked up. The Mystic Flame that people would fight over in the outside world was in the hands of a half-step supremacy stage pill puppet. This half-step supremacy stage pill puppet even used it to refine the spiritual body of a royal-grade flying sword. It was a mess, a complete mess. Sizzle. The Red Devil was only a spiritual body of the Red Devil sword, and it was currently in a gaseous form. It wasn't strange for the gaseous form to sizzle when it encountered the Green Devil Flame, which ranked 200th on the Mystic Flame list. The Red Devil was already in a terrible state, and now that it was being burned by the Green Devil Flame, its aura was even weaker. "Kid, do you want to consider it?" Withered Devil was still thinking about the flower bud and the Red Devil sword. Therefore, he only burned the Red Devil for a few seconds before stopping. He said sinisterly, "I only want 2 things from you. As long as you give them to me, I can guarantee your safety as a spirit." Don't believe his nonsense. The Red Devil knew that Kumo was sinister and cunning, and nothing he said could be trusted. Since the Red Devil was the spiritual body of the Red Devil sword, no one knew about his communication with Ningyu. Even Kumo didn't know. When Kumo saw Ningyu standing there without saying a word, he thought that Ningyu was considering it. "I know what you said," Ningyu said in a deep voice. Ningyu knew that Kumo was a fickle person, and his words couldn't be trusted. But in this situation, he had no other choice. If he did not hand over the flower bud and the Red Demon's sword to the Withered Demon, the Red Demon would be completely refined. "Kumo, I won't say anything unnecessary. I'll leave the flower bud and the Red Demon's sword here. If you want them, you can come and get them yourself." The Red Fiend said something else, but it was automatically blocked by Ningyu. Ningyu flicked his sleeves and summoned the flower bud and the red demon sword from his storage ring before tossing them into the air above his head. Then, Ningyu spread his hands at Kumo and said, "I've done everything according to what you said. Can you release Red Devil now? Let him go." "That will have to wait until I get my hands on those two things," Kumo said coldly. "Sure." Kumo's eyes widened and 2 rays of cold light shot out from his eyes. The 2 streaks of cold light were extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, they arrived beside the flower bud and the red fiend sword. Buzz! Buzz! The flower bud and the red demon sword buzzed when they saw the 2 streaks of cold light, and the cold light was unable to approach them at all. "Behave yourselves," Ningyu shouted in a low voice when he saw the flower bud and the red demon sword's actions. "If any of you dare to do anything out of line without my permission, don't blame me for being ruthless." Buzz! After Ningyu's berating, the flower bud and the red demon sword both quieted down, and they allowed the cold light to wrap around them and bring them to Kumo. Ha ha ha. Kumo couldn't help but roar with laughter as he looked at the monarch rank flying sword before him. "Kid, do you think I don't know what you're planning? But it's a pity that you've encountered me. You're destined to be unable to cause too much trouble." Kumo's wild laughter hadn't even ended when he smashed the flower bud to the other side with a palm strike that carried gusts of vital energy. Kumo's target was very clear, and that was the monarch rank flying sword, the red demon sword. Kumo knew that his current battle strength was only at the mid-stage of the manifestation realm, so he was trying everything he could to obtain Ningyu's monarch rank flying sword. As long as he could obtain the monarch rank flying sword and trap his spiritual body within it, it would mean that he would possess a true monarch rank flying sword. At that time, even though his battle strength was only at the mid-stage of the manifestation realm, Kumo's strength would be greatly enhanced with the monarch rank flying sword. "Get in." In the next moment, Kumo unleashed his powerful soul energy and pressed down on the red demon. Hiss! When Kumo completely unleashed his soul energy, everyone realized that not only was Kumo's cultivation powerful, but his soul energy was also extremely terrifying. Mid-stage 8th grade. Kumo's soul energy had reached the terrifying mid-stage 8th grade. Even in the Great Xia Kingdom, a mid-stage 8th grade soul energy was top-notch. In the entire Danwu College, there were only a few people whose soul energy had reached the mid-stage 8th grade. Even the old dean of Danwu College, Mu Feng, only had a soul energy at the peak of the early stage 8th grade. He was still some distance away from the mid-stage 8th grade. Under the pressure of Kumo's mid-stage 8th grade soul energy, the red demon did not have much strength to resist and was naturally squeezed into the red demon sword. Soul imprint. Kumo did everything in one go without any hesitation. Seeing that the red demon was squeezed into the red demon sword, Kumo immediately separated a bit of his soul energy to leave a soul imprint on the red demon sword. This is the moment. It could be said that this was the moment that Ningyu had been waiting for. As soon as Kumo injected his soul energy into the red demon sword, Ningyu shouted in a low voice. "What's going on?" Although Kumo's mental fortitude was very strong, Ningyu's sudden movements still caused him to be momentarily stunned. Swoosh! Withered Devil was only stunned for 0.01 seconds. However, it was this 0.01 seconds that gave the flower bud a great opportunity. Apart from Ningyu, almost no one noticed that the flower bud had seized this rare opportunity. The flower bud's body first became a little illusory, and it only returned to normal after 0.01 seconds. Everything happened too quickly. If one did not observe carefully, it was impossible to notice anything. "Brat, you're still too inexperienced." Kumo's soul energy was mid-stage 8th grade. After entering the red demon sword, he directly erased the soul imprint that Ningyu had left behind and left his own soul imprint. After doing all this, Kumo gloomily said, "This royal flying sword belongs to me now. Just wait to be killed." "You want to kill me?" Ningyu's reaction was out of Kumo's expectations. Ningyu crossed his arms in front of his chest and stared at Kumo with interest. He hesitated and said, "Before you kill me, I advise you to check if you can control my royal flying sword." "Let me check." "Are you kidding me?" Kumo raised his brows. Although he said that he did not believe Ningyu, he secretly checked in his heart. Fart. It would have been fine if he did not check, but Kumo's check left him dumbfounded. Chapter 774. Whirlpool. It was no wonder that Kumo was dumbfounded. The soul power he left in the red demon sword was at the mid-stage of grade 8. Ningyu's soul power was only at the peak of grade 6. How did he make his soul power disappear? Most importantly, Kumo didn't even know how his soul power had disappeared. Terrifying. Extremely terrifying. Kumo felt a chill run down his spine, and he sucked in a breath of cold air. Could it be that Ningyu really killed the 4 late-stage fortune stage pill puppets? The more he thought about it, the more he felt that it was possible. After all, from Ningyu's calmness, he could tell that Ningyu was definitely hiding something. Kid, don't play tricks in front of me. To tell you the truth, I won't fall for it. Kumo said coldly, I'm taking this royal grade flying sword today. Ningyu's expression remained the same as he spoke indifferently, I'm not trying to deceive you. I just want you to check if you've left a soul imprint on the royal rank flying sword. I don't want unnecessary trouble to arise when the time comes. I'm so angry. I'm so angry. If Ningyu showed his fangs, Kumo might not be so angry. Most importantly, not only did Ningyu not show his fangs, but he also went to Mu Feng and the others and started chatting. I want to see how much of my soul power you can devour. Kumo snorted coldly. He didn't believe it. Then, Kumo sent a wisp of soul power into the red demon sword and left a soul imprint. This time, Kumo was very smart. He focused most of his attention on the soul imprint in the red demon sword, leaving a small part of his attention on Ningyu's actions. Shit. Soon enough, withered devil cursed. Kumo realized that the soul imprint he left in the red demon sword had disappeared again. It was understandable if Kumo didn't notice the disappearance of the soul imprint the first time. However, the disappearance of the soul imprint this time was right in front of Kumo's eyes. He didn't even blink. Withered Devil felt that he had lost all his face after his soul imprint disappeared twice in a row. To a peak expert like Kumo, he would definitely regain his lost face. In order to find the reason for the disappearance of the soul imprint, Kumo once again sent 2 strands of soul force into the red demon sword. At the same time, he increased his focus. Unfortunately, even after the 3rd and 4th wisps of soul force had been devoured, Kumo still hadn't discovered anything. Continue. Withered Devil had a special characteristic. The more he lost, the more he fought. Unwilling to admit defeat, Withered Devil continued to try. While Kumo was experimenting, he paid less and less attention to Ningyu. On the 10th attempt, Kumo withdrew all of his attention from Ningyu and focused all of his attention on the red demon sword. In order to investigate the secret behind the disappearance of his soul power, Kumo decided to pay any price. The facts proved that Kumo's decision was extremely foolish. 10 minutes later, Kumo had used up 1/10 of his soul power in the red demon sword, but he still couldn't figure out why his soul power had disappeared. Kumo, let me tell you why your soul power has suddenly disappeared. Ningyu couldn't bear to watch Kumo's foolishness any longer. Ningyu waved his hand and indifferently said, the red demon sword is a monarch flying sword. You didn't do anything wrong by forcefully squeezing the red demon sword into it, but you didn't know that the flower bud had also entered the red demon sword. All of your soul power was devoured by the flower bud. Flower bud? That's impossible. Isn't the flower bud over there? What? Kumo turned his head when he heard Ningyu's words. Kumo was dumbfounded when he saw what was going on. Not far away in the air, there was no trace of the flower bud. All that was left was a wisp of aura left behind by the flower bud. Haha, the flower bud has long since entered the red demon sword. Moreover, it has completely devoured the spiritual imprint you left in the red demon sword. Ningyu smiled and said, Red demon, since you've been exposed, there's no need for you to stay there anymore. Hurry up and come over. Buzz. The red demon did not directly answer Ningyu's words. Instead, he controlled the red demon's sword and swung it around. After swinging for about a second, the red demon sword's figure flashed and flew straight toward Ningyu. Crack. Kumo clenched his fists and had an ugly expression on his face when he saw his cooked duck fly away. Shameful. He had really embarrassed himself today. When Kumo had first arrived at the pill cave, he had thought that he would be rich and his strength would soar. Who would have thought that he would suffer such a huge setback? None of the 8 advanced manifestation stage pill puppets that he had brought were spared. All of them had been refined and devoured. Not only that, but he had also come up empty-handed. However, Kumo clearly did not have a correct judgment of the situation before him. He had not suffered a huge setback, but had suffered a huge setback. Swoosh! In the air, the red demon sword suddenly turned around and slashed at Kumo at a terrifying speed. The sudden change made Kumo panic a little. However, Kumo still had the battle strength of an intermediate manifestation stage cultivator. After a brief moment of panic, he regained his composure and began to fight the red demon sword. Buzz! At this moment, Kumo was not only fighting the red demon sword. The red demon sword contained a wisp of Ningyu's soul power and the powerful devouring power of the flower bud. In other words, Kumo was fighting 1 against 3. Kid, the mountains never change and the rivers never stop flowing. We'll meet again someday. After fighting for about 10 minutes, Kumo was gradually losing his strength. He pushed the red demon sword back with a move and shouted, "The next time I come to this pill cave will be the time when all of you will be turned into ashes. Do you think you can leave?" How could Ningyu allow Kumo to escape? If Kumo, who had reached the half-step supremacy stage at his peak, escaped, the consequences would be unimaginable. It was foreseeable that Kumo would advance to the supremacy stage soon. Once Dan Kai advanced to the supremacy stage, he would be able to leave the pill cave easily. When that time came, Ningyu would have nowhere to go. Therefore, Kumo had to die today no matter what. Even if he had to pay a heavy price, Ningyu would not hesitate to do so. Whoosh! Ningyu tore through the void and appeared beside the red demon sword. In the next instant, Ningyu slashed down with the red demon sword. Solitaire. Along with Ningyu's growl, a terrifying sword chi fluctuation rose in this area. Crack! Kai! The sword chi was like a vortex. Everywhere it passed, even the air was sucked dry. Moreover, as the sword chi gradually grew larger, the power it displayed became more and more terrifying. Devouring power, suction power, yuan chi, soul power, and mysterious flame. The vortex in the air was like a hodgepodge of various things. Chapter 775. Foolish Dan Mo. Rumble. The sword wave arrived before Kumo in the blink of an eye. Kumo's face changed drastically when he saw the sword wave. He immediately gathered all the energy in his body on his wrist and threw a palm out. Kai! Kai! The huge palm print also caused the void to emit a sizzling sound. Catcher! Kumo's palm imprint wasn't that powerful when facing Ningyu's sword wave. It was quickly dispersed by Ningyu. Kumo's pupils shrank when the palm print dissipated. He even burned his life force to increase his speed in an attempt to escape into the void. Bang! Unfortunately, even though Kumo had gone all out, he was still a step too late. A crisp sound rang out in the area. Ah! Following this, a hysterical scream was heard from Kumo's mouth. If Kumo's strength was still at the half-step sovereign realm, he wouldn't be afraid of Ningyu's sword wave. However, Kumo's strength was only at the middle phase of the manifestation realm. Coupled with his weak aura, he naturally couldn't withstand the powerful sword wave. Fart! After letting out a shrill cry, Kumo spat out another mouthful of scarlet-red blood, and then he gazed at Ningyu with an unwilling expression as he said gloomily, "Kid, don't even think that you can kill me. To tell you the truth, I'm Pill Puppet. Even if I abandon this body, I can still recover to my peak state if I continue devouring specks of light. As long as the mountains don't change, the rivers will continue to flow. We'll have." However, before Kumo could finish his sentence, he once again let out a blood-curdling scream that sounded like a pig being slaughtered. Mu Feng and the others looked over. Ningyu had appeared beside Kumo and stabbed the red demon sword into Kumo's heart. What happened next was similar to what had happened. The red demon sword and the flower bud were both experts at devouring yuan qi and soul energy. Under their powerful devouring power, The withered devil only lasted for a second before it turned into a faint white mist and became a thing of the past. Thank you for your reminder. Otherwise, you might have really escaped. Originally, Ningyu had only wanted the red fiend sword to devour the withered fiend. After all, the red fiend had expended a lot of energy and urgently needed essence energy to replenish itself. However, withered demon's foolish words caused Ningyu to change his mind. He decided to let the red demon sword and the flower bud devour withered demon together. If the withered demon spring knew about this, it would probably wake up from its anger before dying. On the other side, Mu Feng and the others were also a little dumbfounded. They had often heard of pig-headed teammates, but they had never seen one. Today, they had seen a weirdo. Kumo's pig teammate was none other than himself. Ningyu, I need to go into seclusion. The withered devil's body contained a lot of energy. The red devil and the flower bud distributed the energy reasonably. The red devil devoured 1/3 of the energy, while the flower bud devoured the remaining 2/3. At his peak, Kumo's cultivation was in the quasi-sovereign realm. Not only had 1/3 of his energy allowed Hong Mo to recover to his peak state, but it also made Hong Mo show signs of making a breakthrough. Currently, Hong Mo's cultivation was in the intermediate yin-yang stage. With this breakthrough, it was very likely that he would directly skip the advanced yin-yang stage and reach the peak yin-yang stage. Go into seclusion. I'll take care of things here, Ningyu said without the slightest hesitation. Hearing Ningyu's words, Hong Mo directly merged into the red demon sword and entered the storage ring in front of everyone. In fact, Ningyu was also very helpless. He would leave Danwu College in a little more than an hour. It was not that Ningyu was afraid of leaving Danwu College. It was because there was still Hu Jian, who was in the peak manifestation realm, outside of Danwu College. Without the red demon sword, Ningyu's battle prowess would drop by at least 20 to 30%, or even more. Even at his peak, Ningyu was no match for Hu Jian, let alone after losing the red demon sword. However, Ningyu had no other choice. For the red demon sword, he was willing to take this risk. Hong Mo was a spirit body, and every advancement was very difficult. If he missed such a good opportunity, he did not know when he would get another one. Apart from Ningyu, no one realized that the flower bud had also entered the storage ring along with the red demon sword. At this moment, the flower bud in the storage ring had changed. The 7th petal had completely bloomed. Just as Ningyu had guessed, the 7th petal had grown a lot bigger. Buzz buzz. Just as Ningyu's soul power entered the storage ring to observe the flower bud suddenly made a slight trembling sound. Everyone, get ready. Ningyu was very familiar with this state of the flower bud. Feedback. The flower bud had devoured 2/3 of the withered demon's energy, so it had to feedback some. In Ningyu's opinion, the energy feedback from the flower bud was enough to let Mu Feng and the rest recover to their peak state. Hearing that, Mu Feng and the rest did not ask why. They hurriedly sat down cross-legged and stared at Ningyu. Swoosh, swish. All of a sudden, 2 powerful streams of energy rushed out from the storage ring. One of the streams of energy split into several streams and flew towards Mu Feng and the rest. As for the other stream of energy, it made a circle in the air before entering Ningyu's sea of consciousness. Boom! With so much energy entering his sea of consciousness, Ningyu felt as if his sea of consciousness was about to explode, and the pain was unbearable. Spirit transformation technique. The feeling of his sea of consciousness exploding did not make Ningyu angry. Instead, he revealed a joyful expression. Many. The energy feedback from the flower bud could only be described as massive. With so much energy, not only could it let Ningyu recover to his peak state, it could even allow him to improve further. The energy contained in the half-step sovereign realm Dan, whose body is actually comparable to an ordinary first-grade human sovereign. Ningyu was a little shocked. In his previous life, Ningyu was a heavenly supreme, so he had naturally experienced the threshold of a first-grade human sovereign. However, the energy in Ningyu's body at that time was only comparable to Kumo's, and he did not have the slightest advantage. I'll first stabilize my cultivation, then try to break through to the peak of yin-yang realm. At this moment, Ningyu decided to break through to the peak of yin-yang realm. Boom! Boom! Boom. Boom. Just as Ningyu was stabilizing his cultivation, the silver-winged dragon, Twin Horns Beast, Dark Emperor, and Furball had successfully recovered to their peak state after absorbing the energy from the flower bar. Boom boom, another half an hour passed. Mu Feng, Black Widow, Ouyang Lun, and the black and white heroes had also recovered to their peak state. Now, only 2 people were still absorbing energy in this area. Progenitor Jumo and Ningyu. Progenitor Jumo's injuries were the heaviest, and it was difficult for him to recover. As for Ningyu, no one knew that he wanted to break through to the peak of Yin-Yang realm, so everyone assumed that he had not recovered to his peak state. Boom. After more than an hour, Progenitor Jumo opened his eyes. At this moment, Progenitor Jumo had also recovered to the initial stage of manifestation realm. Looks like Ningyu needs at least a few more hours to recover. Everyone thought that Ningyu's injuries were severe, so they found a place to sit down and quietly waited. Swish. Chapter 776. Chapter 776. A magnificent feat or a boorish man what? Sensing the powerful aura emitted from Ningyu's body, everyone's eyes widened, and their faces were filled with astonishment. The aura exuded by Ningyu was too powerful. Peak of the Yin-Yang realm? Perhaps the aura exuded by Ningyu had reached the half-step manifestation realm. Gulp. After a while, old ancestor Jumo swallowed a mouthful of saliva and murmured, "Why do I feel that Ningyu is giving me a strong sense of oppression, as if I'm not his opponent? Nonsense, even I don't dare to say that I can defeat Ningyu, let alone you." Ouyang Lun, who was standing beside old ancestor Jumo, said in a low voice. Ningyu's cultivation is not at the peak of the Yin-Yang realm, nor is he at the half-step manifestation realm. Mu Feng's perception was more powerful, and he noticed some clues from Ningyu. Not at the peak of the Yin-Yang realm, nor is he at the half-step manifestation realm. Could it be that Ningyu's cultivation is at the early stage manifestation realm? Thinking of this, the way everyone looked at Ningyu changed once again. How old was Ningyu? Such a young creation realm martial artist would be considered an elite prodigy in the Great Xia Kingdom. Even in the Mystic Moon continent, there might not be many who could surpass him. Can you guys listen to me finish? Mu Feng's face darkened as he continued, according to my judgment, Ningyu's cultivation is still at the late stage of the Yin-Yang realm. This time, the people with darkened faces were the silver-winged dragon and Ouyang Lun. Are you sure you're not kidding me? This sentence was the true portrayal of the silver-winged dragon and the others. A late stage of the Yin-Yang realm could exude an aura comparable to the mid-stage manifestation realm. This degree of terror was not the slightest bit weaker than Ningyu's early-stage manifestation realm. Everyone has recovered to their peak state, and the 7-day agreement between me and Hu Jian is coming soon. Ningyu instantly withdrew his aura and waved his hand, saying, "Next, I will go to Danwu College and fight to the death with Hu Jian. If you are willing to follow, I will not refuse. If you are unwilling, I will not force you." Whoosh. Originally, everyone was discussing Ningyu's cultivation, so the atmosphere was more lively. But when they heard Ningyu's words, the lively atmosphere instantly became solemn. Hu Jian was a martial artist at the peak of the manifestation realm. Although their cultivation levels had improved by leaps and bounds, fighting against a martial artist at the peak of the manifestation realm was no different from courting death. Perhaps if 7 or 8 martial artists in the middle stage of the blessed realm worked together, they might be able to block 1 or 2 of Hu Jian's attacks, but they would not be able to play a crucial role. Ningyu, Hu Jian's matter concerns the life and death of the Danwu Academy. We will naturally stand behind you. Mu Feng and old ancestor Jumo were the first to express their stance, indicating that they would unwaveringly stand behind Ningyu. Woof woof. Needless to say, the Dark Emperor and Furball barked twice, one lying on Ningyu's shoulder, while the other came to Ningyu's side. As for the silver-winged dragon and the twin-horned beast, they only pondered for a few seconds before deciding to stand together with Ningyu. The silver-winged dragon and the twin-horned beast finally understood. Ningyu was not a simple person. During the time they followed Ningyu, although they had experienced many setbacks, their cultivation levels had also advanced from the half-step manifestation realm to the early stage of the manifestation realm. In the future, They might even advance to the middle stage of the manifestation realm, the late stage of the manifestation realm, or even the peak of the manifestation realm. Fortune Man. The silver-winged dragon and the twin-horned beast called Ningyu a fortune man, the kind of person who could bring good luck to others. Ouyang Lun had no choice but to follow Ningyu. As for the Black Widow and the Black and White heroes, they fell into deep thought. To be honest, among the three of them, only the Black Widow had a better relationship with Ningyu, but they were just acquaintances. It was not very kind of them to get involved in this mess. However, no matter what, they could advance to the middle stage of the manifestation realm because of Ningyu. Therefore, after pondering for a few minutes, they also chose to face Hu Jian with Ningyu. Since no one has any objections, we can go. Ningyu looked at Mu Feng and the others, then his figure flashed and he flew toward the exit of the pill cavern. Mu Feng and the others looked at each other, not daring to be slow, and they all followed closely behind Ningyu. Rumble. At the same time, at the main entrance of Danwu College, Hu Jian appeared out of thin air. Trash from Danwu College, hurry up and let Ningyu out, or I'll flatten Danwu College, Hu Jian said in a clear voice in mid-air. Hu Jian's voice was very loud, and it contained dense primordial qi, so everyone in the capital could hear it clearly. Arrogant. Arrogant. Hu Jian's words were filled with arrogance and conceit. Arrogant Maya *s, there are still a few minutes to the 7-day promise. In Danwu College, a student who knew about the promise between Ningyu and Hu Jian snorted coldly. What 7-day promise? A student who did not understand asked. It's not convenient for me to tell you. Anyway, it's better if you don't ask. The student who was asked knew that he had let the cat out of the bag, so he immediately stammered and left. Crack. This student did not say anything, but it did not mean that others would not say anything. In midair, Hu Jian punched out, directly shattering the Danwu Academy's doors, which were repaired long ago, into smithereens. Then, Hu Jian said loudly, 7 days ago, I made a promise with Ningyu. If he doesn't leave Danwu College in 7 days, I'll start a massacre. Actually, you guys have to thank Ningyu for these extra 7 days. If it wasn't for him, you guys would have been killed by me. Swoosh. Hu Jian's words not only let the students of Danwu College know about Ningyu's heroic deeds, but also let everyone in the capital know about Ningyu's heroic deeds. 7 days ago, Ningyu was only at the late stage of Yin-Yang realm, right? At that time, Ningyu dared to make a promise with Hu Jian, who was at the peak of manifestation realm. One had to admit that Ningyu was really bold. However, most people did not think that Ningyu was brave. Instead, they thought that Ningyu was a boorish man. Fighting someone at the late stage of Yin-Yang realm and at the peak of manifestation realm was courting death. There are 3 minutes left. Enjoy the last 3 minutes. Ha ha ha. Sensing the change in everyone's emotions, Hu Jian threw his head back and laughed. Drip. Drip. Time passed by second by second. With every passing minute, the faces of the people from Danwu College turned darker. They seemed to have heard the call of the Grim Reaper and saw the Grim Reaper approaching them. Sob sob. At the last minute, some of the more cowardly students even began to wail loudly. Cry, cry to your heart's content. There's only 1 minute left, Hu Jian said sinisterly. Time passed by quickly. In the blink of an eye, another 55 seconds pass. At this time, there were only 5 seconds left before the appointed time between Ningyu and Hu Jian. I'm sorry to tell you that you only have 3 seconds to live. Hu Jian displayed the aura of a peak of manifestation realm, enveloping the entire Danwu College. Then, Hu Jian started to count down. 3, 2, rumble. However, before Hu Jian could finish his last countdown, it stopped abruptly. Chapter 777. Chapter 777, A Great Battle Whoosh. The sudden appearance of several figures in the air caused a huge uproar in Danwu College. All of the Danwu Academy's martial artists recognized the figure in the lead. Ningyu. The leading figure was Ningyu. Ningyu is finally here. He showed up at the last moment. Yes, I thought Ningyu had run away. It seems that I was the one who gauged the heart of a gentleman with my own mean measure. Those who think Ning Yu will run away haven't experienced the battle in the Sacred Institute 7 days ago. All the martial artists who had experienced the battle between Ning Yu and Mu Tian 7 days ago firmly believed that Ning Yu would show up at the last moment. Ning Yu didn't disappoint them. Before the last second arrived, he had rushed here. Wait, how did old ancestor Ju Mo advance to the early stage of the manifestation realm? Suddenly, some students noticed old ancestor Ju Mo behind Ning Yu. It's not just old ancestor Ju Mo. The dean has also advanced to the middle stage of the manifestation realm. I know those two demonic beasts. They were only half step to the manifestation realm 7 days ago. Now they are in the early stage of the manifestation realm. Ouyang Lun, the imperial family's old ancestor, has also advanced to the middle stage of the manifestation realm. The Black and White heroes and the Black Widow are all in the middle stage of the manifestation realm. What's wrong with this world? Why are all the middle stage manifestation realm martial artists here? Danwu College, which had been noisy because of Ning Yu's appearance, was in an uproar. To Hu Jian, a middle stage manifestation realm martial artist might be just a slightly bigger ant. However, to the many students in Danwu College, they were like pillars that supported the heavens and were unreachable. It could be said that all the martial artists among them might not be able to advance to the yin-yang realm in their lifetime, let alone the middle stage manifestation realm. Haha, very good. I thought you weren't going to show up. Seeing Ning Yu appear, Hu Jian instantly withdrew his aura and smiled faintly. Since you have appeared, I will fulfill my promise and not start a massacre in Danwu College. Hu Jian, can we fight somewhere else? Ning Yu glared at Hu Jian and said in a deep voice. If they were to fight here, the repercussions of the battle would not only affect Danwu College, but even the people in the capital would not be spared. After all, Hu Jian was a martial artist at the peak of the manifestation realm. He was extremely powerful. If they could change the location of the battle, these things could be avoided. I'm not a bloodthirsty person. My objective is extremely simple, and it's to take your life. Hu Jian shrugged and said, as for where we fight, it doesn't matter to me. Since you don't want to fight here, I'll fulfill your wish. Let's fight outside the capital. As soon as the word fight was uttered, Hu Jian's body gradually became illusory. In the end, he turned into a gust of wind and disappeared. Go. Ning Yu did not stay there for long. His legs brought along gusts of wind as his body instantly dashed out. The silver-winged dragon and the rest did not have any concerns and immediately followed behind Ning Yu. Mu Feng had some concerns. He first landed and gave a few instructions to the martial artists in the middle stage of the manifestation realm who did not enter the pill cavern before flying out of the capital. Previously, when the corpse sect leader trapped Mu Feng with the corpse art, the strongest martial artist in Danwu College, an elder in the middle stage of the manifestation realm, fought with the corpse art. Unexpectedly, the corpse art was so powerful that it easily defeated the elder in the middle stage of the manifestation realm. Although Ning Yu appeared to save the elder in the middle stage of the manifestation realm, the elder did not enter the pill cavern with Ning Yu. Instead, he went to find a place to recuperate. Mu Feng's trip was extremely dangerous, so he definitely had to arrange everything properly. Don't worry. After I settle the matters outside, I'll go and help you. The elder in the middle stage of the manifestation realm had recovered to his peak an hour ago. He looked at Mu Feng's back and said in a deep voice. Swoosh. The martial artists in the capital heard the conversation between Hu Jian and Ning Yu very clearly. Some martial artists who thought that they were very powerful all rushed out of the capital, wanting to watch this fierce battle. The mentality of the crowd was to watch a good show. However, these people did not know that what happened next might make them regret it for the rest of their lives. Buzz. Not long after, in a dense forest outside the capital, the space suddenly tore apart, and a figure appeared. Hu Jian. The first figure that appeared was Hu Jian. Kai Kai. Behind Hu Jian, Ning Yu was the second to appear. Then, the silver-winged dragon, the twin-horned beast, and Ouyang Lun also appeared. Ning Yu, actually, I admire your talent. If you did not anger Mu Tian, I might have let you live. Hu Jian did not attack immediately. Instead, he raised the corner of his mouth and laughed sinisterly. But you offended Mu Tian. Mu Tian's father is the Supreme Nine Purities Temple. Hold on, hold on. I know that Mu Tian's father is the fifth Supreme Elder of the Supreme Nine Purities Temple. Ning Yu interrupted Hu Jian and said, not only do I know who Mu Tian's father is, but I also know that you will not let me live. Don't think that I'm a fool. Your current cultivation is at the peak of the blessed realm. If you don't kill me, you can forget about advancing to the honorable realm in this lifetime. Ha ha ha. Hearing such sharp words from Ning Yu, Hu Jian laughed at the sky and then said coldly, you are very smart. But in this world, smart people never have a good life. As the last word left his mouth, Hu Jian suddenly moved. His body turned into an after-image as he charged toward Ning Yu. Hu Jian's speed could be described as extremely fast. No. Fart. Although Ning Yu knew that Hu Jian had disappeared, he still could not stop him. Without a doubt, Ning Yu was punched in the chest by Hu Jian. Not only did he retreat several feet, but he also spat out a mouthful of blood. After the attack, Hu Jian did not continue to attack. He crossed his arms and stared at Ning Yu with interest. He said calmly, sometimes, watching others being tortured is actually a kind of enjoyment. I originally thought that your cultivation was infinitely close to the honorable realm. Ning Yu stood up from the ground and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. He grinned and said, now it seems that you are only at the peak of the blessed realm. You are not even half a step to the honorable realm. Me. I am not half a step to the honorable realm. Killing you is as easy as crushing an ant. Ning Yu's words angered Hu Jian. He snorted coldly and rushed out again. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. The last time Hu Jian attacked, Mu Feng and the rest did not react in time. This time, Hu Jian's attack showed signs of warning. They naturally would not let Ning Yu face him alone. Thus, Mu Feng, the silver-winged dragon, the twin-horned beast, Ouyang Lun, and even the Dark Emperor and Furball stood in front of Ning Yu. You are courting death. Hu Jian, who was in a state of rage, used all his strength in every attack. Bang! 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 The first martial artists to be pushed back by Hu Jian were Old Ancestor Ju Mo, Black Widow, and Ouyang Lun. The three of them were weaker, so it was natural for them to be pushed back. Bang! Bang! The next martial artists to be pushed back were the Black and White heroes. Can't even withstand a single blow. After casually pushing back 5 people with a few punches, Hu Jian curled his lips and his gaze fell on the Dark Emperor and the rest. Chapter 778. Easily defeated, I say, are you blind? Hu Jian's arrogant words made the Dark Emperor unable to stand it anymore. The reason why the Dark Emperor could not stand it was not because Hu Jian said he wanted to eat demonic beast meat, nor was it because Hu Jian was arrogant enough to think that he could kill all of them. It was because on what basis did Hu Jian say that they were all demonic beasts? Mu Feng was a living person. Could it be that just because Mu Feng's strength was lower, Hu Jian could ignore Mu Feng? Ha, scream, scream to your heart's content. I, Hu Jian, love to kill demonic beasts that think that they are very arrogant. Being called blind by the Dark Emperor, Hu Jian was not angry. Instead, he smiled faintly and said, the louder you scream now, the more painful it will be when I skin you alive later. Actually, in Hu Jian's heart, he had long regarded the Dark Emperor and the others as dead demonic beasts. Therefore, Hu Jian did not speak too much nonsense with the Dark Emperor. He rose from the ground and charged straight at the Dark Emperor. Swish! Since the Dark Emperor spoke up for him, Mu Feng naturally had to block this move for the Dark Emperor. All the essence in his body gathered on his wrist. Mu Feng did not even hesitate to gather his soul power on his fist. With a backhand punch, he collided with Hu Jian's fist. Catcher! The result did not need to be guessed. Although Mu Feng had advanced to the middle stage manifestation realm, he still could not withstand a single move from the peak manifestation realm Hu Jian. A crisp sound rang out in this region. Mu Feng was like a kite with a broken string, flying straight into the distance. Catcher! Another cracking sound rang out. This time, it was Mu Feng's body that crashed into a towering tree, snapping it in half. The impact was truly terrifying. Even the towering tree was snapped into 2. Mu Feng naturally did not fare any better. It was normal for his breathing to be weak. What was more serious was that a few of Mu Feng's ribs seemed to have broken. At this moment, he could not even stand up. A mantis trying to stop a chariot. Hu Jian did not use 100% of his strength to severely injure Mu Feng. He only used 30% of his strength. 30% of a peak manifestation realm martial artist strength was enough to kill a newly advanced middle stage manifestation realm martial artist. For Mu Feng to be able to forcefully resist Hu Jian's move and not be killed, it could already be considered very good. Damned dog, I'll start with you next. Hu Jian's lips curled up as his body became illusory. Silver-winged dragon, twin-horned beast, it's all up to you. Seeing that Hu Jian had disappeared, the Dark Emperor bellowed. At the same time, the silver Quetzalcoatlus and the twin-horned beast used their massive bodies to surround the Dark Emperor and Furball from all angles. You guys are slightly stronger than that old man. Against you, I will use 50% of my strength. As a martial artist at the peak of the manifestation realm, Hu Jian knew very well how powerful the silver-winged dragon and the twin-horned beast were. An early-stage manifestation realm demonic beast could even withstand the attack of a late-stage manifestation realm martial artist. Furthermore, some early-stage manifestation realm demonic beasts had extremely tough fur. Even a full-powered attack from a martial artist at the peak of the manifestation realm might not be able to kill them. Although Hu Jian said that he used 50% of his strength, that was not the case. In order to kill the silver-winged dragon and the twin-horned beast in one move, Hu Jian had used 70% of his strength. Roar! Roar! Feeling the berserk energy waves from Hu Jian's body, the silver-winged dragon and the twin-horned beast roared at the sky, their voices echoing through the entire forest. Following that, the silver-winged dragon flapped its wings, sending out gusts of wind. The two horns on the twin-horned beast's head shot out two beams of cold light, blasting towards Hu Jian together with the gusts of wind. Insignificant tricks. Just like before, Hu Jian said that the attacks of the silver-winged dragon and the twin-horned beast were insignificant tricks, but he was extremely shocked in his heart. The attack that was originally 70% of his strength was forcefully increased to 100%. Only after the attack was increased to 100% did Hu Jian relax slightly, and he attacked the silver-winged dragon and the twin-horned beast with satisfaction. Bang! Bang! The power of a full-powered attack from a martial artist at the peak of the manifestation realm was heaven-defying. The massive attack directly blasted the silver-winged dragon and the twin-horned beast several feet back. Sigh, I originally thought that Ning Yu and the rest could do heaven-defying things, but from the looks of it now, I was thinking too much. How could they do heaven-defying things? Hu Jian is a martial artist at the peak of the manifestation realm. That's right, how many years has it been? Since the Great Xia Empire was founded, there probably hasn't been a martial artist at the peak of the manifestation realm, right? Humph. His own strength is weak, and he actually dared to set a 7-day agreement with Hu Jian. I think that Ningyu is tired of living. When the Dark Emperor and Hu Jian were arguing, the spectators did not comment. When Mu Feng was defeated, the spectators did not comment. Now that the silver-winged dragon and the twin-horned beast were blasted back by Hu Jian and were on the verge of death, the spectators began to discuss. However, the spectators did not think highly of Ningyu. There were even some spectators who openly mocked Ningyu for overestimating himself. Sigh, I originally thought that you guys were very powerful, but from the looks of it now, you are just wax figures with a silver spear, pleasing to the eye but not. What? Although he had used all his strength to severely injure the silver-winged dragon and the twin-horned beast, it did not stop Hu Jian from showing off. However, just as Hu Jian was getting high from showing off, he was horrified to discover that the black dog's aura had actually risen from the half-step manifestation realm to the mid-stage manifestation realm. Obviously, Hu Jian had not expected such a change. This aura seems to be the heaven-devouring hound. After the shock, Hu Jian's eyes widened, not daring to believe what he was seeing. However, the truth was right in front of him, and he could not afford to have any doubts. The black dog's aura had indeed reached the mid-stage manifestation realm. As for the white dog lying on the black dog's shoulder, its aura had dropped to the freezing point, only at the innate realm. Woof, woof. After its aura increased to the mid-stage manifestation realm, the Dark Emperor roared at the sky and charged forward. Looking at the huge black dog that was just inches away, Hu Jian did not dare to be negligent and quickly focused. The mid-stage manifestation realm heaven-devouring hound had terrifying strength, and it was very easy for it to challenge someone of a higher level. Hu Jian was afraid that if he was careless, he would die a horrible death. However, there was one thing that Hu Jian might not have thought of. Not only was the Dark Emperor a heaven-devouring hound, but he was also the king of the heaven-devouring hound clan, the purple-gold heaven-devouring hound. Blue jade sword. At the critical moment, Hu Jian took out a blue flying sword and slashed out a shocking sword wave in front of everyone. Solitaire. Boom. The sword wave that Hu Jian slashed out was the sixth form of the Supreme Nine Purities sword art, Solitaire. There was a rule in the Supreme Nine Purities Temple that only martial artists with outstanding talent could cultivate the last few forms of the Supreme Nine Purities sword art. Martial artists with average talent could only cultivate the first 6 forms. Hu Jian belonged to the category of martial artists with average talent. The 6th form of the Supreme Nine Purities sword art performed by a peak manifestation realm martial artist is indeed powerful. Ever since he saw Mu Tian perform Solitaire, Ningyu's understanding of Solitaire had deepened. Chapter 779. Send you to hell devour. Looking at the gigantic sword wave that Hu Jian had unleashed, the Dark Emperor did not care about anything else. He opened his mouth wide and swallowed it. There were 2 reasons why the Dark Emperor dared to devour the sword wave unleashed by Hu Jian. Firstly, he was a purple-gold sky-devouring dog. Secondly, after Furball channeled all of its energy into his body and forced out a few drops of blood essence, his aura strengthened to the middle stage of the manifestation realm. The power of the bloodline in his body even showed signs of awakening. The Dark Emperor did not care whether or not he could awaken the power of the bloodline. What the Dark Emperor cared about was whether or not he could severely injure Hu Jian. This was because Ningyu was preparing over there. Only if he could severely injure Hu Jian would Ningyu be able to deal a fatal blow to Hu Jian later. In fact, the Dark Emperor brazenly devoured Hu Jian's solitaire in order to divert Hu Jian's attention from Ningyu. Clearly, the Dark Emperor had achieved his goal. Hu Jian's attention was completely attracted by him. This is too exaggerated. Even if you're a sky-devouring dog and your aura has reached the middle stage of the manifestation realm, you won't be able to gain anything from devouring my solitaire, right? Hu Jian's mouth was slightly open as he stared at the Dark Emperor in midair with a dumbfounded expression. He even swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Exaggerated, conceited, arrogant. Hu Jian could think of many words to describe the Dark Emperor, but without exception, they were all bad words. I know that black dog. It has been by Ningyu's side for a long time. I also know that black dog. He is very powerful. 7 days ago at Danwu College, when Ningyu blocked the attack of the Corpse Yin sect, he also contributed greatly. No matter how great the contribution is, it's useless. Hu Jian is a martial artist at the peak of the manifestation realm. Even if his sword wave is devoured by the black dog, he can still easily kill that black dog. The onlookers were just onlookers. No matter what, they would always be criticized and praised. It could be said that if the Dark Emperor killed Hu Jian, there would also be people who would mock the Dark Emperor and Ningyu. After all, the Dark Sovereign was not truly at the middle stage of manifestation. He had only reached the middle stage of manifestation after fusing with Furball's energy and blood essence. Moreover, the Dark Emperor could only maintain the aura of the middle stage of the creation realm for a dozen seconds. Therefore, he wanted to give Hu Jian the greatest shock and the greatest blow in these dozen seconds. This was the only way to lay a solid foundation for Ningyu. In order to achieve this, the Dark Emperor resolutely chose to fight Hu Jian head-on after devouring solitaire. Humph. I want to see how much of my solitaire you can swallow. Hu Jian was also a hot-tempered man. He did not choose to kill the Dark Emperor. Instead, he waved the blue jade sword repeatedly and slashed out several sword waves. Buzz. In an instant, an earth-shattering sword wave surged out from the blue jade sword and surged towards the Dark Emperor. Swallow. Devour. Swallow. The Dark Emperor was straightforward and did not reject any of them, swallowing them all into his stomach. Bang bang bang, if the Dark Emperor's cultivation had really reached the middle stage of manifestation, he could endure devouring so much solitaire for a short period of time. Most importantly, the Dark Emperor was not truly at the middle stage of manifestation. He had only reached this level for a short period of time. Several dull sounds came from the Dark Emperor's stomach, which gradually grew larger. Moreover, the Dark Emperor's cultivation also began to decline rapidly. In just a few seconds, the Dark Emperor's stomach grew terrifyingly large, and his cultivation dropped to the innate realm like furball. Ha ha ha, swallow, why don't you swallow some more? Seeing the Dark Emperor's current state, Hu Jian laughed maniacally and said, I thought you were really that awesome. So it's just a facade. You used some unorthodox method to raise your cultivation to the middle stage of manifestation. Now that you've revealed your fox's tail, you won't have long to live. Forget it, forget it. I don't want to see you suffer. Let me send you on your last journey. At this moment, Hu Jian seemed to be a little more humane. He waved his hand and walked towards the Dark Emperor with the blue jade sword in his hand. Hu Jian walked very slowly so that he could pressure the Dark Emperor and let him enjoy the taste of pain. Can I interrupt for a moment? Before Hu Jian reached the Dark Emperor's side, a faint voice rang in his ears. Hearing that, Hu Jian raised his brows and turned his head to look. He saw a skinny martial artist standing on the spot not far away. The skinny martial artist released his aura. It was difficult for ordinary people to determine his true cultivation from the aura that the skinny martial artist gave off. However, Hu Jian was a martial artist at the peak of manifestation, so he still had the ability to discern. Ningyu, I'm starting to see you in a different light. Hu Jian said sinisterly, to be able to release the aura of a middle stage of manifestation with your mastery yin-yang stage cultivation, you're the most powerful genius martial artist I've ever seen. Thank you for the praise. Ning Yu was expressionless as he said faintly, although you've praised me, it's a pity that I still won't change my opinion of you. Do I need you to change your opinion of me? Hu Jian seemed to have heard the funniest joke in the world as he said coldly, to tell you the truth, after today, all of you will die. You have no right to ask whether I die or not. Moreover, we don't even know who will live and who will die. Don't you think it's a little ridiculous for you to say these words now? Ning Yu still had that indifferent look on his face as though the martial artist who spoke to him was not at the peak of manifestation, but at the early stage of manifestation. Hu Jian, I admit that your cultivation is very high. It's a few times higher than mine. Let me ask you a question now. Ning Yu continued, do you dare to meet my palm? Do you dare to meet my palm? Do you dare to meet my palm? When Ning Yu said this sentence, it contained a dense energy wave that dispersed in all directions. All the spectators in the area widened their eyes as they looked at Ning Yu in disbelief. Their eyes seemed to be saying, are you King kidding me? You are a late-stage yin-yang realm martial artist. It's fine if you set a 7-day agreement with a peak-stage manifestation realm martial artist, but you actually dared to openly provoke me. Do you have 9 lives like a cat, or are you tired of living? Ever since I grew up, I have seen plenty of martial artists, but in terms of acting cool, I only admire Ning Yu. That's right. I also admire Ning Yu's courage. What's the use of being convinced? I'm just afraid that Ning Yu will infuriate Hu Jian and cause him to start a massacre in the Great Xia Kingdom. If you are afraid that Hu Jian will start a massacre in the Great Xia Kingdom, you can get lost now. Why are you blindly competing here? This time, there were a few martial artists who spoke up for Ning Yu among the spectators. It was just that these martial artists who spoke up for Ning Yu were quickly isolated and formed a small camp. Ning Yu, I agree to your unreasonable request. Since Ning Yu's words had already spread, it would be unreasonable for Hu Jian to not agree. Therefore, Hu Jian shouted coldly. Chapter 780. The spectators next, I'll send you to heaven. When Hu Jian's slightly threatening words sounded out in this area, Hu Jian's body turned into an afterimage and vanished. The closer it was to the end, the more one could see just how great the potential of a peak creation realm martial artist was. Hu Jian had just turned into an afterimage a moment ago and appeared beside Ningyu the next instant. Furthermore, Hu Jian's palm blasted out. It carried an extremely berserk yuan qi undulation and blasted ruthlessly towards Ningyu's head. This palm of Hu Jian not only had a berserk yuan qi undulation on it, it even had a terrifying devouring power. Ningyu was not very afraid of the terrifying yuan qi undulation on Hu Jian's palm. The only thing Ningyu was wary of was the terrifying devouring power contained in Hu Jian's palm. It could be said that even the Red Fiend Sword's devouring power might not be as terrifying as the one emitted from Hu Jian's palm. Ningyu, in order to kill you with one palm, I've given you enough respect. The corners of Hu Jian's mouth curled up and he said coldly, very curious why I can emit such a terrifying devouring power, right? I'll tell you honestly, this terrifying devouring power of mine is because I'm a freak. However, just as Hu Jian's cold words were halfway through, he cursed. The reason why Hu Jian cursed was that he sensed an even more terrifying devouring power on Ningyu's palm. The devouring power on Ningyu's palm was several times stronger than the devouring power on his palm. I forgot to tell you, you're not the only one who can emit such a terrifying devouring power. I can too. Ningyu flipped his wrist and similarly, a terrifying devouring power was emitted. Since Ningyu dared to clash palms with Hu Jian, he naturally had a trump card. Flower bud. At this critical moment, the flower bud hidden in Ningyu's sleeve played a crucial role. After the flower bud bloomed its seventh petal, its devouring power increased significantly again. Not good. Sensing the devouring power on Ningyu's palm, Hu Jian's expression changed drastically. He hastily stopped and tried to retract his palm. However, Hu Jian was already very close to Ningyu. In addition, Ningyu was already prepared, so Hu Jian's palm still collided with Ningyu's palm helplessly. Pa! The two palms collided and a muffled sound rang out. Hihi, swallow for me. At first, Hu Jian did not realize the seriousness of the problem. This was because after his palm and Ningyu's palm came into contact, both of them were in harmony. The devouring power on Ningyu's palm had completely disappeared. However, Hu Jian soon realized the seriousness of the problem. He realized that his palm was no longer under his control. Apart from this, the terrifying devouring power on Ningyu's palm had increased once again, and it was getting stronger and stronger. The peak of the creation realm. The peak of the later stage of the manifestation realm. The peak of the middle stage of the blessed realm. In just 1 second, Hu Jian's aura dropped from the peak of the blessed realm to the peak of the middle stage of the blessed realm. Moreover, it continued to drop. Catcher. Hu Jian was not an indecisive person. He gritted his teeth, raised his sword, and directly cut off his right hand that was in contact with Ningyu's palm. With a crack, the bloody palm fell to the ground. As for Hu Jian, he hurriedly retreated to the other side and stared at Ningyu viciously. At this moment, Hu Jian wished he could cut Ningyu into pieces. Careless. He was really careless this time. Hu Jian was very upset. If he did not care about his pride, if he did not agree to exchange palms with Ningyu, Ningyu would have been killed by him. How could there be so many problems? Now, not only did his aura drop to the peak of the middle stage of the blessed realm, but he was also forced to give up his right hand. The loss this time would take at least a few months to recover. Ningyu, the mountains will not change, and the rivers will continue to flow. We will meet again. Hu Jian was not that kind of hothead. He knew himself very well. His aura dropped to the peak of the middle stage of the blessed realm, and he was forced to give up his right hand. His strength had dropped at least a few times. Under this premise, what could he use to fight with Ningyu? The only thing he could do now was to retreat first, and then think of a way to get back at him. After leaving a few words, Hu Jian's figure flashed, and he wanted to leave. Want to leave? It's not that easy. In order to kill Hu Jian, the Dark Emperor and the others had suffered a lot. If he let Hu Jian escape like this, Ningyu could commit suicide by eating feces. Swoosh! Ningyu dashed out, and in an instant, he blocked in front of Hu Jian. Ningyu, always leave a way out, and we will meet again in the future. Hu Jian said coldly, I am a martial artist of the Supreme Nine Purities Temple. If you kill me, The Supreme Nine Purities Temple will definitely not let you go. Also, a few days ago, I received accurate news that the Supreme Nine Purities Temple has sent Supremacy Realm martial artists to the Great Shia Kingdom. If you kill me, they will definitely destroy your bones and scatter your ashes. Whether the Supremacy Realm martial artists of the Supreme Nine Purities Temple will destroy my bones and scatter my ashes is not something you need to worry about. You should think about how you can survive. Ning Yu dashed out in an instant, and in the blink of an eye, he was in front of Hu Jian. Bang! Ning Yu's fist carried a strong wind of vitality, and it hit Hu Jian's chest without any deviation. The enormous force that came from his chest caused Hu Jian to be forcefully pushed back several feet. Ning Yu, don't think that I am afraid of you. Although I have lost a hand, I still have the strength of the middle stage of the manifestation realm. Killing you is as easy as flipping my hand. Hu Jian's chest heaved up and down, and he said coldly, "You do have the strength of the middle stage of the manifestation realm, but it will not be of any use to me," Ning Yu said faintly. "It will not be of any use." Hearing Ning Yu's words, Hu Jian's eyes turned, and he thought of a countermeasure. In the next moment, Hu Jian's figure rushed out again. But this time, the direction of Hu Jian's flight was not where Ning Yu was, but where the spectators were. Swoosh! Hu Jian's action caused a huge uproar among the spectators. Some of the stronger spectators fled to the sides. Some of the weaker spectators were even stunned on the spot. The fleeing crowd was luckier, and they successfully avoided Hu Jian's attack. The spectators who were stunned on the spot were not so lucky. They became Hu Jian's punching bags, and their bodies were hit by Hu Jian's powerful attack. "Ah! My eyes! My arm is broken. My leg. You there, don't step on my leg. My cultivation has dropped to the early stage of the Carnate realm." All kinds of shouts and curses resounded in the area. The culprit who caused all this, Hu Jian, floated in the air with one hand crossed in front of his chest. "Ning Yu, aren't you very powerful? I want to see if you can save these people now." Hu Jian's eyes shone with a cunning light. He pointed at the spectators behind him and said sinisterly. Chapter 781. One's heart is not straight. Hu Jian's slightly threatening words caused a huge uproar among the onlookers. The martial artist who was injured under Hu Jian's powerful attack just now had a ghastly pale face without any color of blood. Despair, fear, panic, all sorts of uneasy feelings were growing. Now, these onlookers began to regret coming to watch the show. If they did not watch the show, they definitely would not be threatened by Hu Jian. But there was no medicine for regret in this world. What one did, one had to be responsible to the end and could not blame others. Swish. However, the thoughts of the onlookers could not be judged with normal thinking. After a brief moment of panic, some onlookers began to point the spearhead at Ning Yu. "Ning Yu, we are already like this. Do you want to watch us die helplessly? Humph. All of this was caused by you. You have to be responsible. Hurry up and let Hu Jian go. Otherwise, we will join forces and banish you out of the capital, out of the Great Shia Kingdom." Right. Hu Jian is a martial artist of the Supreme Nine Purities Temple. If you let him go, you will be on good terms with the Supreme Nine Purities Temple. It will be very beneficial to you. At this moment, the faces of the onlookers were revealed. There were even some onlookers who saw that Ning Yu did not speak and behaved even more exaggeratedly. They were not satisfied with making Ning Yu let Hu Jian go and already started to ask for compensation from Ning Yu. "Ning Yu, not only do you have to let Hu Jian go, you have to give us the compensation that we deserve. My arm is broken. It needs at least 1 million pieces of high-grade essence crystals. How can 1 million pieces of high-grade essence crystals be enough? My leg is broken. You have to give me at least 1 million pieces of supreme-grade essence crystals. Hurry up and compensate. If you don't, I won't let you leave." Ning Yu looked at everything coldly. He wanted to see how many shameless words these onlookers could say. However, Ning Yu did not seem to be entangled with Hu Jian on the surface, but that was not the case. Ning Yu's attention was always on Hu Jian. As long as Hu Jian made the slightest movement, Ningyu would make a move immediately and blast Hu Jian to death. It was a little irrational to make a move now. As the saying went, a starving camel was still bigger than a horse. Hu Jian's combat strength had dropped to the middle stage of the blessed realm, but his combat experience and senses were still there. If he were to act rashly and something were to happen to him, the losses would outweigh the gains. Ningyu, don't think that everything will be fine if you don't speak. We have 3 requests. First, let Hu Jian go. Second, compensate us. Third, don't ever appear in the capital again. Scram back to where you belong. If you can do these 3 things, we can consider sparing your life. Otherwise, we will let you know what cruelty is. The onlookers were getting more and more exaggerated. From 1 request at the beginning, to 2, and then to 3. Ningyu didn't dare to imagine that if he dragged it out a little longer, these onlookers would list out his 10 major crimes. In fact, Ningyu initially thought of saving these onlookers, but as the onlookers' requests increased, Ningyu finally decided to give up on them. Why should I listen to your orders? Why should I agree to your unreasonable requests? Do I owe you something, or do I owe you something? Cough, cough. He couldn't take it anymore. There was no need to take it anymore. Ningyu coughed and said faintly, since you have so many requests of me, it seems that I have to say something. I'll make it short. First, Hu Jian must die. Second, what does your death have to do with me? Boom. Ningyu's words were more intimidating than Hu Jian's. Hearing Ningyu's arrogant words, the onlookers were dumbfounded. They stared at Ningyu with their mouths slightly open, dumbfounded. Ningyu, aren't you afraid that I'll kill all of them? Hu Jian did not believe that Ningyu would be so ruthless. He reminded him, they are all from the capital. Many of them have very terrifying forces behind them. Think about it, if I kill all of them, the forces behind them will definitely come after you. By then, you will end up in a very miserable state. Also, as long as I add fuel to the fire, you will have to bear the endless wrath. Ningyu listened to Hu Jian quietly until Hu Jian stopped talking. Then, Ningyu said, "Are you done?" "Not yet, I still want to." Hu Jian obviously did not understand the meaning behind Ningyu's words and continued. "I say, why do you have so much nonsense to say?" Ningyu directly interrupted Hu Jian's words and said doubtfully, "Do you think that I'll compromise and let you go just because you're talking nonsense?" "You." Hu Jian was speechless after being rebutted by Ningyu. "Fine. You forced me to do this." Hu Jian's eyes revealed a trace of coldness. After a low growl, Hu Jian unleashed his aura and suppressed the people behind him. "Ah. Stop, I can't take it anymore. Fat. My eyes. Ningyu, you will suffer retribution for doing this." Being suppressed by Hu Jian's aura, the onlookers began to panic. However, it was difficult for ordinary people to understand the thoughts of the onlookers. Until now, they were still threatening Ningyu and not begging for mercy. It was really like the saying, heaven's evil can be forgiven, but one's own evil cannot be avoided. "Ningyu, we are willing to reduce 1 condition." "Yes, hurry up and ask Hu Jian to stop." "We are willing to reduce 1 condition." "Are you guys stupid?" A yin-yang realm martial artist seemed to be a little more rational. While resisting the pressure of Hu Jian's momentum, he said, "How can reducing 1 condition attract Ningyu?" "In my opinion, we should reduce 2 conditions. Yes, yes, yes. As long as Ningyu lets go of Hu Jian, we will forgive him. We don't want any compensation." Sigh. Ningyu sighed and shook his head slowly when he heard the godlike words of these onlookers. There were many shameless people in the Skyfiend region. In the past, Ningyu had also met many shameless people. However, the people he met today had completely overturned his previous understanding. Damn it, to be shameless to this extent, they were indeed the best of the shameless, the king of the shameless, and the fighter of the shameless. Me. "Ningyu, I want to kill all of them." Hu Jian did not expect Ningyu to be so ruthless. He snorted coldly and then used the onlookers as a punching bag. The combat power of the middle stage of the Blessed Realm was completely revealed. The reason why Hu Jian tried his best to kill the onlookers was that he believed that Ningyu would show mercy and compromise. However, Hu Jian did not know that Ningyu had lived 2 lives. Ningyu could see the faces of these onlookers very clearly. Give them an inch, and you want a mile. Most of the onlookers had the mentality of taking a mile when given an inch. Even if you saved them, they would still have all kinds of reasons to blackmail you and make you unable to live in peace. Instead of that, it was better to let Hu Jian attack and kill all the malicious onlookers. My friends over there, please come over. Ningyu was not the kind of person who did not care about others' feelings. He was still very kind to the onlookers who had good intentions. Chapter 782. Take away Ningyu. Who do you think you are? You don't know what's the use of standing idly by. To tell you the truth, not only will they die today, even you will be killed by me. Hu Jian's eyes turned cold. He immediately withdrew his aura and turned to launch a powerful attack at Ningyu. Kai Kai. Hu Jian's speed was very fast. It was extremely fast. Originally, the distance between Ningyu and Hu Jian was not too far. Coupled with Hu Jian's speed, Hu Jian arrived in front of Ningyu in just 0.01 seconds. In the next moment, Hu Jian's fist brought along a violent yuan qi gale as it ruthlessly smashed towards Ningyu's head. This punch of Hu Jian's was very powerful. It contained almost all the essence qi in his body. In order to kill with a single strike, Hu Jian even did not hesitate to ignite his blood essence to increase the power of his fist. Everyone could see that there were traces of flames leaping on Hu Jian's fist. The flames and yuan qi burned, emitting a sizzling sound. Want to kill me? It depends on whether you have the ability or not. Ningyu was not a pushover that everyone could bully. Although the elemental qi and flames on Hu Jian's fist were constantly jumping, Ningyu was not afraid. On the contrary, Ningyu flicked his wrist and all the primordial qi in his sea of consciousness rushed out and gathered on his fist. With a backhand punch, he collided with Hu Jian's fist. Whoosh! Whoosh! After one move, the 2 figures quickly retreated. Judging from the distance both sides retreated, both sides were evenly matched in this attack. Ningyu, I was wondering how powerful you were. It turns out that we're about the same. Hu Jian floated in midair and said sinisterly, if I want to leave, you definitely can't stop me. I can't stop you. Hihi, you can give it a try. Ningyu still had that calm look on his face, as if he wasn't worried that Hu Jian would suddenly leave. Go. Hu Jian did not waste any time. He took out a scroll from his pocket and threw it at Ningyu. Not good. Looking at the scroll flying towards him, Ningyu's expression changed and he quickly retreated. An ancient scroll. The thing that Hu Jian threw out was an ancient scroll. Moreover, from the ancient scroll that Hu Jian had thrown out, Ningyu could clearly tell that it was very powerful. It was so powerful that it was terrifying. Ningyu, even a supreme being wouldn't dare to face this ancient scroll of mine head-on. You can die without regrets at its hands. As the cold words were spoken, Hu Jian's figure gradually turned illusory. However, the moment Hu Jian's figure disappeared, he let out a low growl. Give me. Poochie. Before Hu Jian could say the word explode, he felt a huge force coming from his back. He was forcefully kicked out of the air. Who is it? Hu Jian spat out a large mouthful of blood. His face was filled with viciousness as he stared at the air in front of him. He growled, come out if you have the ability. Don't sneak around. As you wish. Hearing Hu Jian's request, a figure wrapped in a black robe appeared in the air. Hiss. The moment this black-robed cultivator appeared, all the cultivators in the area sucked in a breath of cold air. The peak of the manifestation realm. The black-robed cultivator's cultivation was the same as Hu Jian at his peak. They were both at the peak of the manifestation realm. It's you. Hu Jian wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said coldly, I should have killed you back in Danwu College. The black-robed cultivator was none other than the peak of the manifestation realm expert from Danwu College 7 days ago. He was the senior that Mu Feng had mentioned. After helping Danwu College complete the 3 tasks, the black-robed cultivator left Danwu College. It was unknown why the black-robed cultivator would appear here. Come here. The black-robed cultivator's peak of the manifestation realm aura locked onto Hu Jian. Then, he said to Ningyu. Ningyu did not sense any killing intent from the black-robed cultivator. Therefore, Ningyu's figure flashed and arrived beside the black-robed cultivator. Actually, even if the black-robed cultivator wanted to kill, Ningyu would not be afraid. As Hu Jian did not say the word explode, Ningyu put away Hu Jian's ancient scroll and sealed it perfectly. As long as the black-robed cultivator wanted to kill, Ningyu did not mind letting him have a taste of the ancient scroll. Is your father called Ninghai? The black-robed cultivator stared into Ningyu's eyes and asked in a deep voice. Swish. Ningyu's heart skipped a beat. How did he know my father's name? Could it be related to my father? A series of questions appeared in Ningyu's mind, making Ningyu's thoughts a little chaotic. After a brief moment of confusion, Ningyu answered honestly, my father's name is indeed Ninghai. I wonder if you can call me Wu Xie. The old man took a deep breath and said in a low voice, give me the semicircular pendant. Wu Xie. Hearing this, Ningyu's eyes widened. So, the old man in front of him was Wu Xie. I know you have a lot of questions, but I can only tell you one thing. In a few days, people from the Supreme Nine Purities Temple will come. If they find out that the pendant is with you, you will die without a burial place even if you have 9 lives. The black-robed cultivator said in a deep voice. Ningyu's face was gloomy as he pondered whether the black-robed cultivator's words could be trusted. After a while, Ningyu flicked his sleeve and the blue pendant flew towards the black-robed cultivator. Pa. The black-robed cultivator caught the pendant firmly and said to Ningyu, I will take Hu Jian with me. He still has some use for me. Buzz. The black-robed old man grabbed Hu Jian and instantly melted into the void, disappearing without a trace. Senior, where is my father? Seeing the black-robed cultivator disappear, Ningyu hurriedly sent a soul message. Magic Beast Mountain Range. The black-robed cultivator left this sentence and disappeared. Magic Beast Mountain Range. It seems that father did not leave the Magic Beast Mountain Range. It was only a long time after the black-robed cultivator disappeared that Ningyu came to his senses. Although Ningyu knew that his father was in the Magic Beast Mountain Range, it was not the time to go there. Mu Feng, the Dark Emperor, and the others were still seriously injured. The most important thing now was to let them recover to their peak state. Many things had happened in the past 7 days. Ningyu was not a fool. He was very clear that in the next period of time, the Great Xia Kingdom's capital would become a key place for the various forces to compete. The Corpse Yin sect lost a branch leader, and the headquarters would definitely not let it go. The Blood God Palace lost a few Manifestation Realm martial artists, and they would not let it go. As for the Supreme Nine Purities Temple, they would definitely send people to the Great Xia Kingdom. Moreover, Ningyu could faintly feel that the target of these forces was most likely him. Under this premise, a cultivation of the late Yin-Yang realm was no longer enough. He must raise his cultivation to the peak of the Yin-Yang realm or the Manifestation realm. Only then would he be able to successfully survive the upcoming crisis. Everyone rest for a few minutes, and then we will all return to Danwu College. Ningyu looked at Mu Feng and the others and said in a clear voice. However, as soon as Ningyu's voice fell, a discordant voice rang in his ears. Chapter 783. The Mysterious Organization. Hearing the discordant words, Ningyu raised his eyebrows and turned around. It's all thanks to you that we are where we are today. If you don't want to admit it, I will expose your shameful deeds to the public and let everyone in Da Xia Kingdom see what kind of person you are. Not far away from Ningyu, a middle-aged man in the early stage of Yin-Yang realm berated Ningyu with a face full of anger. It's not too late for you to make up for it. Hand over all your treasures and elixirs. Otherwise, you will become a street rat and be cursed by everyone. You're saying that I will become a street rat? Ningyu pointed at his nose and said. That's right. Don't think that you can do whatever you want just because you're strong. The middle-aged man in the early stage of Yin-Yang realm was getting more and more arrogant. I really want to know what gave you the courage to put this *T on my head. Ningyu said faintly, you should know that it's all your fault that you were attacked by Hu Jian today. Then, Ningyu pointed at the group of people next to him and continued, they are the same as you. They are all here to watch the show. Why weren't they attacked by Hu Jian, but you were attacked by him? There's a saying that goes, the more you dance, the more miserable your death will be. Actually, Hu Jian's attack was still very powerful. Among the onlookers, apart from those who were neutral, there were only about 10 or so martial artists who were cheering the loudest. Among the remaining martial artists, the middle-aged man had the highest cultivation and suffered the lightest injuries. I'm upholding justice. The middle-aged man spoke righteously. Those who didn't know better might have thought that Ningyu was the one who injured them. I'd like to see how you're going to uphold justice, Ningyu said with interest. You won't dare to kill us because I've already informed my family about your evil deeds through a secret technique. As long as you dare to kill us, you'll become the enemy of the entire capital. The middle-aged man seemed to be fearless as he laughed sinisterly. Hurry up and compensate us, or else we'll reveal everything about you. If you dare to play any tricks, we will go to Qianxian City and kill everyone in your clan. That's right, Ningyu comes from that remote corner of profound Sky City. We only need to send out 2 Yuan Dan stage practitioners to dominate that place. My ass decides my head. At first, Ningyu's tone was very good. However, as these people continued to cause trouble without reason, Ningyu's expression became completely gloomy. Some people's thoughts were really strange. In their world, others should take them as the center. It was as if everyone owed them since they were born, and they should always give in to them. Unfortunately, Ningyu did not fall for their tricks. Can I take your words as a provocation and a threat? Ningyu said calmly, if you really want to think that way, we have no objections. The middle-aged man shrugged and said, I'll give you one last chance. Tell me what you should do. Mother Kur, shameless to the extreme. Before Ningyu could speak, the Dark Emperor on the other side shouted, this kind of person should be chopped into 8 pieces. If the Dark Emperor had not suffered heavy injuries, he would definitely be the first to kill the middle-aged man. Tear them apart. The silver-winged dragon and the twin-horned beast shouted in unison. At the side, although Mu Feng, old ancestor Ju Mo, and the rest did not speak, it could be seen from their expressions that they still supported the Dark Emperor and the twin-horned beast. Just what I wanted. Ningyu had long found the middle-aged man an eyesore. For a person to be shameless to this extent, he could be considered a weirdo among weirdos. Swish. Ningyu stomped his feet on the ground, and his body rushed out like a bolt of lightning. You can't, puff. Seeing that Ningyu did not play his cards according to common sense, the middle-aged man's expression changed greatly, and his face was filled with fear. At this time, the middle-aged man finally realized that it was clearly too late. Ningyu's fist landed on his body, directly blasting him several feet away, and his body crashed into a huge tree. Crack! The huge tree that was as thick as a person's waist was smashed into 2. The middle-aged man also spat out a large mouthful of blood, and his aura instantly dropped to the freezing point. Bang bang bang, against such unreasonable people, Ningyu would not hold back. After sending the middle-aged man flying with one move, Ningyu threw out another 9 punches, each one landing on a martial artist. From the moment Ningyu attacked until the moment he stopped, only a few seconds had passed. In just a few seconds, including the middle-aged man, all the bystanders with ulterior motives had been severely injured. Leave this matter to me. But just as Ningyu was about to attack and kill them, among the bystanders, an early primal core stage young man said in a low voice, if you kill them, it will affect your reputation. Hearing the young man's words, Ningyu raised his eyebrows and asked, what's your name? I am just a very ordinary person, you do not need to know my name, the young man said lightly. Haha, thank you for your kind intentions, but I actually do not care about my reputation. Ningyu smiled slightly, then formed a seal with his hands and sent out 10 consecutive palm strikes. Bang! A series of muffled sounds rang out. Without question, Ningyu's attacks were very heavy-handed. These bystanders with ulterior motives, without exception, were all killed by Ningyu. Seeing that Ningyu had attacked and killed these bystanders, the young man did not say anything else and directly tore the void apart and disappeared. Something's wrong. As soon as the young man disappeared, Ningyu realized that something was wrong. Logically speaking, The young man's level of cultivation was only at the early primal core stage, so how could he have torn the void apart? For a peak primal core warrior to be able to tear the void apart was not surprising to Ningyu. But for an early primal core warrior to be able to tear the void apart was a little exaggerated. Who is he? Ningyu frowned slightly. Forget it, we'll cross the bridge when we get there. Anyway, he has no ill intentions towards me. Ningyu shook his head slowly and said to Mu Feng and the rest, everyone recuperate as soon as possible. We will return to Danwu College in an hour. Hearing Ningyu's words, Mu Feng and the rest sat down cross-legged, took out the yuan crystals they had brought with them, and began to recuperate. They were seriously injured, and although an hour was not enough for them to recover to their peak, it was enough for them to recover by 10 to 20%. Buzz buzz. What Ningyu and the rest did not know was that in the void not too far away from them, 3 warriors were having a conversation. 3 warriors. 2 men and 1 woman. One of the warriors was the young man who had just left. Ningyu is very strong. In my opinion, we can absorb him into our organization, the young man said in a low voice as he described Ningyu's performance. I disagree. The female warrior objected. Ningyu's murderous intent is too strong. I'm afraid that if we absorb him into our organization, there will be unstable factors. What's there to be afraid of? Do you think he can overturn the heavens? Another male warrior said lightly, Ningyu's strength has at most reached the requirements to join the organization. He won't be able to cause too much trouble. The last male warrior seemed to be the leader of this small group, and his words had a great effect. All right, in that case, I will contact him again and absorb him into the organization. Chapter 784. Breaking into the Imperial Palace. Swish. Time flew. An hour passed in the blink of an eye. In the blink of an eye, an hour had passed. Mu Feng and the others were far from recovering to their peak state. Although they had an hour to recover, Mu Feng and the others had not recovered to their peak state. Even the Dark Emperor and Furball, who had the best recovery ability, had only recovered 30% to 40%. Even so, everyone still chose to return to the capital and Danwu College. Many things had happened in the past few days. Everyone knew that the enemy they would face in the next period of time would be very powerful. Moreover, it was much faster to return to Danwu College to recuperate than to stay here. After the battle, Danwu College was filled with a heavy atmosphere. The lively atmosphere that a college should have was completely absent. Many students were worried. All of this was seen by Mu Feng, who had just returned to Danwu College. However, Mu Feng could not raise everyone's morale in a short period of time. After such a big event, he had to give everyone some time to digest. After all, most of the students of Danwu College had not experienced the fighting in society. It was normal for them to be a little flustered when they encountered such a thing. Dean Mu, is there any other place in Danwu College for everyone to recuperate other than here? In order not to attract the attention of many students, Ningyu and the others went straight to the forbidden area as soon as they returned to Danwu College. Among them, Ningyu sensed the density of the Yuan Qi in the forbidden area and said in a deep voice, "We can't go to the pill cave in a short period of time, and there is no way for everyone to recover to their peak state in a short period of time." Mu Feng shook his head and said, "No, the best place in Danwu College is the pill cave. Apart from the pill cave, this place has the densest Yuan Qi." Hearing Mu Feng's words, Ningyu frowned and fell into deep thought. Blood God Palace, Corpse Sect, Supreme Nine Purities Temple. These 3 sects would definitely send people to the capital in the next period of time. At that time, the capital would become the center of a whirlpool. Before that, Ningyu had one more important thing to do. That was to make a trip to the headquarters of the Corpse Yin sect in the Great Xia country. In the headquarters of the Corpse sect in the Great Xia country, there was a huge skeleton. All the signs indicated that this huge skeleton was the heaven-devouring dog when it was alive. The skeleton of the heaven-devouring hound was the knot in the Dark Emperor's heart. Ever since Ningyu met the Dark Emperor had wanted to go to the Corpse Yin sect's headquarters to bring back the skeleton. Although there were many things to do, Ningyu couldn't go back on his word, so he took this opportunity to go to the corpse sect's headquarters. As for other matters, they could be put aside for the time being. There was no rush. Ningyu, there is a place in the Imperial Palace that has a higher concentration of essence energy. If you trust me, you can let everyone go there to cultivate. However, Ouyang Lun said while Ningyu was deep in thought. Ouyang Lun didn't continue to speak. Instead, he stared at Ningyu with an uneasy look on his face. Speak. Ningyu said in a deep voice. Only I can open that place, but even I have to spend a lot of energy to do so. Ouyang Lun hesitated and said, what I mean is, can you temporarily make a heavenly oath to remove your restriction on me? Ningyu raised his eyebrows and stared at Ouyang Lun's eyes. Being stared at by Ningyu, Ouyang Lun was a little scared. Even his forehead was covered with beads of sweat. Let's go take a look first. Ningyu was not that kind of fledgling. Unless he was sure that what Ouyang Lun said was true, he would definitely not remove his restriction on Ouyang Lun. Ouyang Lun was the ancestor of the Imperial Palace, so he must be very cunning. If he was not careful, he would fall into his trap. All right. Ouyang Lun nodded helplessly. His figure flashed and he left the forbidden area of Danwu College. As for Ningyu and the others, they followed Ouyang Lun and disappeared in an instant. Buzz. Not long after, they appeared in front of a hall in the depths of the Imperial Palace. Creak. Ouyang Lun was the first to push open the door of the hall and walked in. As soon as he stepped into the hall, Ningyu felt a strong wave of yuan qi hitting him in the face. The density of the yuan qi in the hall is indeed comparable to the forbidden area of Danwu College. However, it is still lacking compared to the pill cavern. Ningyu murmured as he felt the strong yuan qi hitting him in the face. Ningyu, the place I'm talking about is behind that door. At this moment, Ouyang Lun pointed at a bronze door at the corner of the hall and said, I need to put all my energy into that door in order to open it. Otherwise, even a Supreme Being Realm martial artist can forget about opening it. Even a Supremacy Realm martial artist will not be able to open it. Ningyu's mind moved. He quickly separated a wisp of his soul force and attached it to the bronze door. After a while, Ningyu retracted his soul force and walked straight towards the bronze door. I don't believe you can open the stone door, Ouyang Lun thought to himself when he saw Ningyu's action. To be honest, the reason why Mu Tian refused to leave the Imperial Palace and insisted on seeing Ouyang Lun was because he wanted Ouyang Lun to open the bronze door. In the past, a Supremacy Realm martial artist had come to the Great Xia Kingdom. At that time, he was only a second-grade human supreme martial artist. However, even a second-grade human supreme martial artist could not open the bronze door. If you can open the bronze door, I will turn my head. What? Ouyang Lun snorted and thought to himself. However, before Ouyang Lun could turn his head, his mouth opened slightly and his eyes locked onto Ningyu and the bronze door. Creak. Ningyu's hands were placed on the bronze door and he exerted a little force. The closed bronze door was slowly pushed open. Obviously, Ouyang Lun did not expect this. How did Ningyu open the stone door? How did Ningyu, who was only at the advanced yin-yang realm, do it? A series of questions appeared in Ouyang Lun's mind. However, these questions would probably rot in Ouyang Lun's mind, as Ningyu had no intention of telling him. Let's go. After opening the bronze door, Ningyu waved his hand and was the first to pass through the door. Ouyang Lun stomped his feet on the ground and was the second to pass through the door. Mu Feng and the rest followed closely behind. In just a second, the crowd had disappeared, causing the hall to return to its usual calm state. Crack. Not long after Ningyu and the rest passed through the door of a luxurious palace in the Imperial Palace was shattered into two by a young man. Who dares to trespass the Imperial Palace? Are you tired of living? A middle-aged man sat on the main seat of the hall. The middle-aged man was none other than the Emperor of the Great Xia Kingdom who had just recovered to his peak condition, Ouyang Ba. Below Ouyang Ba, there were 3 to 4 old men, whose cultivations were all at the half-step manifestation realm. Ouyang Ba was infuriated, especially after he had determined the young man's true cultivation. Mu Tian was so arrogant that he had beaten him until he wet his pants. That was only because he was capable and powerful. Chapter 785. Chapter 785 Incher. The young man hesitated for a moment after hearing Oyangba's cold words, before he said, "Let me correct you. It's true that I've trespassed into the royal palace, but it's not like I'm tired of living. On the contrary, I want to live for a long time." "You want to live for a long time? Then tell me, why did you trespass into the royal palace?" Although Oyangba seemed to be looking down on the young man, he was extremely cautious in his heart. Besides, although Oyangba could tell that the young man's cultivation base was only at the early primal core realm, Oyangba had a feeling that the young man was not as simple as he seemed. As for why he was not simple, Oyangba could not tell. Under such circumstances, it was never wrong to be cautious. After all, due to the incident with Mu Tian, Oyangba was cautious in everything he did, as if everyone was pretending to be weak. "I've only come to the royal palace for one thing, which is to meet Ningyu," the young man said calmly. "Meet Ningyu?" Oyangba was slightly startled, before he said in a cold tone, "Ningyu is not in the royal palace, you can leave now. Otherwise, I'll show you what cruelty is." "Hihi, it's not up to you whether Ningyu is in the royal palace or not." It was obvious that the young man did not take Oyangba seriously, as he said with a smile, "I'm here because my organization has a request. I have to remind you. Now that I've told you, it's none of my business whether you listen to me or not. I know where Ningyu is, so I don't need you to lead the way. I can go there myself." After saying this, the young man's figure became more and more illusionary, until his entire body merged with the void. "Damn it. Go. Take this arrogant kid down." The young man's words completely infuriated Oyangba. "If you're a manifestation realm martial artist, I might be able to tolerate your words, but you're only an early primal core martial artist. What right do you have to say such words? I can't tolerate it anymore, there's no need to." Besides, Oyangba had to step in to protect the dignity of the royal palace. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Including Oyangba, there were a total of 5 half-step manifestation realm martial artists in the hall. Without exception, these 5 half-step manifestation stage martial artists attacked in unison. Each of them threw a punch and forcefully blasted the young man out of the air. However, no matter how he looked at it, the young man didn't seem to have been pushed out. Instead, he seemed to have come out on his own accord, refusing a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. The young man was thoroughly enraged. His eyes turned cold, and his aura completely erupted. Half-step to the blessed realm. The young man's cultivation was also at the half-step manifestation realm. Furthermore, the richness of the young man's yuan qi was much stronger than Oyangba and the others who were half a step to the manifestation realm. It could even be compared to a peak early stage manifestation realm martial artist. Bang 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 bang. The moment an expert made a move, it would be clear whether or not he was a real expert. The young man threw out 5 punches with ease, but the result was obvious. Oyangba and the others were all struck by the punches, causing them to be knocked back a few feet. Following this, Oyangba and the others spat out mouthfuls of blood, as their auras at their peak instantly dropped to freezing point. "Humph. I've given you face, but you don't want it. If it wasn't for the fact that Ningyu is related to the royal family, I would have sent you all to hell long ago." The young man glanced at Oyangba and the others and uttered these cold words. He then tore the space apart and disappeared. A long time after the young man had disappeared, Oyangba and the others finally let out a long sigh of relief, as if a heavy burden had been lifted from their shoulders. "Damn it, we've King kicked an iron plate again." First, there was Mu Tian, who beat the crap out of them. Now, there was this mysterious young man whose strength was a level higher than Mu Tian's. Who did I offend? This sentence was the true reflection of Oyangba's current thoughts. Buzz buzz. After the young man disappeared, he did not wander around the royal family. Instead, he went straight to the entrance of the hall where Ningyu and the others were at. Creak. The young man pushed open the door of the hall with ease. "Suck. The yuan qi is so thin. No wonder the Dacia kingdom hasn't had a genius martial artist for a long time. The young man took a deep breath and shook his head. Being able to cultivate to such a level with such thin yuan qi, I have to say that Ningyu is indeed outstanding. Forget it, I'll look for Ningyu first and ask him to join the organization. The young man slowly exhaled and stood in front of the bronze door. Open it. The young man did not waste any time. He placed his hands on the bronze door and pushed it with all his might. However, no matter how hard the young man tried, the bronze door did not budge at all, showing no sign of being pushed open. I didn't expect a stone door to be able to stop me in a place like the Dacia kingdom where even birds don't shit. The young man withdrew his hands and secretly unleashed his soul force to probe the stone door. Whoosh! If anyone were here, they would discover that the strength of the young man's soul force had reached the terrifying late-stage 6th grade. Half-step manifestation realm cultivation base and the strength of a late-stage 6th grade soul force. At this age, with such strength, even in the Dacia kingdom, he could be ranked top 3. Even Ningyu's cultivation base was slightly lower than his. There's something strange, the stone door is strange. The more the young man examined, the more he frowned. In that organization, the young man was known to be able to open any sealed stone door. Although it was a little exaggerated, it was enough to prove the young man's ability to open the stone door. But such a heaven-defying person was stumped by a bronze door in the Dacia kingdom. Let's try brute force. The young man took a deep breath, and the yuan qi on his wrist pulsed. He threw a punch at the stone door. Bang! A crisp sound was heard. The bronze door only shook for a short while before returning to normal. How can I open the stone door? After failing to open the stone door twice, the young man fell into deep thought. The young man was determined to waste time with the bronze door. He wanted to see how long it would take to break it open. Oh no, someone is attacking the bronze door. What the young man did not know was that when he punched the bronze door, although it only shook for a short while, it caused a huge commotion in the space on the other side of the bronze door. Especially Ouyang Lun, his face was full of anger. What is going on? Feeling the space shaking, Ningyu said in a deep voice, "This is the Imperial Palace. There shouldn't be anyone who would dare to attack the bronze door, right?" "I don't know either." At the mention of this, Ouyang Lun was even more furious. He said, "I have already given the order. Apart from me, no one is allowed to enter this hall. In that case, I will go out and have a look." Ningyu thought for a while and decided to go out and have a look. After all, the vitality in this place was extremely rich. The Dark Emperor and the others would only need a few hours to recover to their peak condition. Chapter 786. Making a decision. I will go with you. After all, this is the Imperial Palace. Someone has trespassed, I have to step in. Ouyang Lun thought about it and decided to go with Ningyu. This was the Imperial Palace. If he let Ningyu deal with this, Ouyang Lun would lose his authority in the Imperial Palace. "Since you want to go, I will not stop you," Ningyu said. Ningyu did not care whether Ouyang Lun went out or not. He was going to go out anyway. Boom! At this moment, the space shook again. This time, the shaking was much more violent than before. Based on the frequency and intensity of the shaking, not only would the bronze door be blown open, but the space where Ningyu and the others were would also be destroyed. Whoosh! At this critical moment, Ningyu's figure flashed and he flew straight towards the bronze door. Ouyang Lun followed closely behind Ningyu. "Give me, no." Outside the bronze door, the young man's right hand was surrounded by a violent gust of yuan qi as he punched the door. However, before the young man's fist came into contact with the bronze door, his expression changed and he quickly retreated. Creak! Swoosh! Swoosh! Fortunately, the young man retreated quickly. Otherwise, the two beams of cold light that shot out from the bronze door would have been enough to kill him. "Why did you attack the bronze door? It was you." Ouyang Lun appeared in the main hall, his face extremely gloomy as he stared at the young man and scolded him. As a mid-creation stage warrior, Ouyang Lun had an amazing memory. He recognized the young man's identity the moment he saw him. The young man was none other than the early primal core warrior who had wanted to kill the onlookers on behalf of Ningyu not long ago. Haha, Ningyu, how have you been? The young man did not even look at Ouyang Lun as he said to Ningyu, let me introduce myself, I am Shen Yong. Shen Yong? Ningyu frowned and said, I don't know you. I advise you to answer Ouyang Lun's question first. Why did you attack the bronze door? You're advising me to answer this trash first? Ha ha ha. Shen Yong felt as if he had heard the funniest joke in the world. He faced the sky and laughed wildly. Soon after, he said coldly, a piece of trash will always be a piece of trash. In front of me, he doesn't have the qualifications to make me answer a question. Also, at this point, the corners of Shen Yong's mouth curled up into an arc, and he stared at Ningyu and said, you don't have the qualifications either. He, there is no need for you to tell me if I am qualified or not. I will ask you one last time. Why did you attack the bronze doors? Ningyu asked with a faint smile. After all, Shen Yong had once spoken up for Ningyu, so Ningyu had a pretty good impression of him. However, after hearing Shen Yong's arrogant words, Ningyu's opinion of him completely changed. Don't laugh in front of me. If boss didn't want you to join the organization, I would have let you know why flowers are so red. Shen Yong said darkly, I'll give you one last ultimatum. Tell me how to open this bronze door, or I have the right to prevent you from joining the organization. Are you sure you are talking to me? Ningyu shrugged and said indifferently, I don't know what organization you are talking about, and I don't want to join. Let me return your words to you. I'll give you one last ultimatum. If you don't tell me why you attacked the bronze door, I will let you know why flowers are so red. Oh, it seems that if I don't teach you a lesson, you won't know how powerful I am. Shen Yong made a strange expression, then rose from the ground and rushed directly at Ningyu. Ningyu stood still and did not fight back. Because Ningyu knew that Ouyang Lun would not sit idly by. This was the imperial family, and Ouyang Lun wanted to get back at him. How dare you behave atrociously in the imperial family? You are looking down on me. Sure enough, as soon as Shen Yong made his move, Ouyang Lun shouted and rushed out like a ferocious tiger. Bang! However, Ouyang Lun, who had recovered 50% of his strength, was no match for Shen Yong. One move. Ouyang Lun was defeated in just one move. Ningyu was finally moved. Ouyang Lun, who had recovered 50% of his strength, was comparable to an ordinary martial artist in the early stage of Fate Realm, and was even slightly stronger. Shen Yong could defeat Ouyang Lun in this state with one move, which meant that he did have some skills. However, Ningyu was only moved. If Shen Yong only had this little ability, he would not be able to compete with him. After defeating Ouyang Lun in one move, Shen Yong turned his right fist into a palm and punched at Ningyu's head. Shen Yong's move was very powerful, and it was even more powerful than the attack he had used to defeat Ouyang Lun. Ningyu, if you can block this palm of mine, I will admit that you have some skills, Shen Yong said coldly. Noisy. Ningyu's eyes turned cold. His palm contained violent primordial chi, and he shouted in a low voice, Reincarnation palm. As Ningyu pushed out his palm, a palm print separated from his palm. Crack. However, the palm print that separated from Ningyu's palm was not very powerful, and was easily shattered by Shen Yong. I will let you see what real strength is. Shen Yong suddenly pushed out his palm, and it collided with Ningyu's palm. Chi wave palm. Bang. The two palms collided, and a muffled sound rang out. Then, the two figures retreated backward. Judging from the distance Ningyu and Shen Yong retreated, it could be seen that their strength was almost equal. Having failed to defeat Ningyu with a single palm strike, Shen Yong's complexion was unsightly to the extreme. Just now, he was still bragging non-stop. Now that he couldn't defeat Ningyu, it was really shameful. Shen Yong could not accept such a disgrace, and he had to get back at him. Take another move, Blood Cloud Palm. Shen Yong's feet stepped on the ground, and his body instantly rushed out. At this moment, Shen Yong's right hand turned blood red, and it contained extremely violent and terrifying primordial chi. This terrifying primordial chi was a little special, and it was not white, but red. Blood Cloud Palm. Looking at the palm that was inches away from him, Ningyu took a deep breath, and all the primordial qi in his body swept out, gathered on his wrist, and pushed out. Life and death palm. The same blood-red palm collided with Shenyong's palm under his slightly shocked eyes. Rumble. The impact of the collision between Ningyu and Shenyong was huge. With the collision as the center, cracks even appeared in the surrounding space. Swoosh. Swoosh. The two figures retreated to the edge of the hall, and then stabilized themselves. Fut. Shenyong could not resist the sweet taste in his throat, and he spat out a big mouthful of blood, and panted heavily. Gulp. As for Ningyu, he forcefully swallowed the sweet taste in his throat. Crack. Shenyong's eyes were locked on Ningyu, and his fists were clenched so tightly that they made cracking sounds. His face was full of viciousness. Chapter 787. Chapter 787, Nine Cauldrons Divine Pavilion. Pardon me for asking, but what is the name of the organization you are in? Hearing that Shenyong wanted to kill him, Ningyu hesitated for a moment before saying, "If you want to kill me, you should at least let me know why I'm dying." "You want to die knowing? No problem." Shenyong's aura locked onto Ningyu and he said, "Listen up, the organization I am in is called the God-Killing Union. Every member of the God-Killing Union is a peerless genius in the Great Xia Empire." God-Killing Union? Ningyu frowned and tried to recall. After a long time, Ningyu shook his head and said, "I've never heard of it." Ningyu had reincarnated 20 years later. It seemed that the God-Killing Union was an organization that had developed in these 20 years. Or, it could be said that the God-Killing Union was an unknown organization 20 years ago. For Ningyu, who was a Sky Supreme in his previous life, he definitely wouldn't pay attention to a small organization. It's not surprising that you haven't heard of it. The God-Killing Union has another name, Nine Cauldrons Divine Pavilion, Shenyong said. Nine Cauldrons Divine Pavilion? Never heard of it either. Ningyu said lightly. You. Shenyong clenched his fists, shaking with anger. Not hearing of the God-Killing Union was understandable, but not hearing of the Nine Cauldrons Divine Pavilion? Wasn't this nonsense? What? Nine Cauldrons Divine Pavilion. Ningyu had never heard of the Nine Cauldrons Divine Pavilion, but Ouyang Lun had. A trace of fear grew in his heart. In the Black Moon continent, any martial artist with a bit of background would have heard of the Nine Cauldrons Divine Pavilion. The Nine Cauldrons Divine Pavilion was said to have been founded by 9 extreme geniuses. There were 9 branches, and each branch controlled one or several countries. Any genius martial artist that they fancied would basically join the organization. If anyone dared to resist, the consequences would be unimaginable. Humph. At least you have some knowledge. Ouyang Lun, having heard of the Nine Cauldrons Divine Pavilion, was within Shenyong's expectations. Ningyu, in my opinion, it's better to turn a big problem into a small one and a small one into nothing. Ouyang Lun quietly arrived at Ningyu's side. He said in a low voice, "The Nine Furnace Divine Pavilion is extremely powerful. There are countless countries in the entire Heavenly Demon region that are under their control. You want to resolve this small matter?" Shenyong's ears were very sharp. He raised his eyebrows and said coldly, "It's not impossible. Kneel down and kowtow to me a few times, then open your minds and let me leave something in your sea of consciousness." "What do you want to leave in my sea of wisdom?" Ningyu did not immediately reject Shenyong. Instead, he asked calmly. "Haha, of course it's something to control you." Towards wild and arrogant martial artists, the Nine Furnace Divine Pavilion naturally has a way to subdue them. Shenyong sinisterly smiled. "Shenyong, can you bend the rules a little? We are willing to join the Nine Furnace Divine Pavilion, but you don't need to leave something in our sea of consciousness, right?" Ouyang Lun clearly knew what Shenyong wanted to do. He began to haggle. "I'm already very accommodating towards you," Shenyong shouted. "If it were anyone else, I would have already sent them to see the King of Hell. How could I possibly waste my breath here?" Shenyong's ruthless words caused Ouyang Lun's complexion to turn pale. The reason why Ouyang Lun chose to compromise was because he knew just how powerful the Nine Furnace Divine Pavilion was. Any martial artist that did not listen to them would inexplicably disappear. It was just that even a clay figurine had 3 points of anger, let alone the great Xia Empire's old ancestor, Ouyang Lun. Oh, you don't seem to be convinced. Shen Yong's lips curved up in a smile. He stared at Ouyang Lun with great interest and said, "How about this? I'll give you a chance. As long as you can take one of my moves, I won't control you. But you will still have to join the 9-Furnace Divine Pavilion and become one of my subordinates." Ouyang Lun's eyes shifted to Ningyu. He wanted to see what Ningyu planned to do. The truth was that in Ouyang Lun's heart, he was more inclined to agree to Shen Yong's terms. After all, the 9-Furnace Divine Pavilion was just too big. It was so big that he did not dare to have the slightest thought of resisting. "I want to ask you something. In this world, does the strong rule?" Ningyu hesitated for a moment and looked at Shen Yong. "Of course it is the strong rule," Shen Yong said in a low voice. "Beneath the strong, all are ants." "Then why are you still talking nonsense?" Ningyu's expression suddenly turned cold. His entire body's aura suddenly erupted, pressing down on Shen Yong. Bang! Although Ningyu's cultivation was only at the late yin-yang realm, his aura wasn't weak at all. It had reached the middle stage of the good fortune realm. Shen Yong's complexion changed as he was suppressed by the middle stage good fortune realm's aura. He hurriedly released all the essence qi in his body, forming an essence qi barrier around his body. Ka. However, Shen Yong's essence qi barrier didn't have the slightest bit of effect. Soon, the essence qi barrier around Shen Yong's body was smashed apart. A massive aura instantly pressed down. "Block for me." Shen Yong gritted his teeth as he looked at the aura pressing down on him. His late-stage 6th grade soul force was instantly released. Kai. This time, Shen Yong's late-stage 6th grade soul force played a key role. It forcefully blocked Ningyu's aura pressing down on him. "You're courting death." After blocking Ningyu's aura pressing down on him, Shen Yong stomped his feet on the ground and his body suddenly shot forward. Shen Yong was like a cheetah, appearing beside Ningyu in the blink of an eye. "Iron back fist." As Shen Yong shouted, his right hand quickly punched out, landing a punch on Ningyu's chest. "Ha ha ha, I thought you were powerful. Turns out, it's just an afterimage." Seeing his fist land on Ningyu's chest, Shen Yong couldn't help but laugh maniacally. However, Shen Yong's laughter soon came to an abrupt stop. This was because Shen Yong discovered that Ningyu's body had turned into nothingness and appeared on the other side. "Shen Yong, you're actually not weak. Ordinary peak early manifestation realm martial artists are not your match." Ningyu stood beside Shen Yong and indifferently said, "It's a pity that you ran into me. You're destined to not have a good ending." Swish. After saying this, Ningyu didn't continue talking nonsense. His figure flashed, and under Shen Yong's horrified gaze, Ningyu's fist landed on Shen Yong's chest. Bang! Catcher! 2 consecutive crisp sounds rang out. Shen Yong was sent flying several feet back. His body slammed into the wall with a cracking sound. Ribs. Several broken ribs. "You can't kill him." Seeing Ningyu's killing intent, Ouyang Lun hurriedly said, "The 9 Cauldrons Divine Pavilion is very powerful. If they find out that someone from their organization has died in the Great Xia Empire, in the imperial family, the consequences will be unimaginable. Ha ha ha, kill me. If you have the ability, then kill me. As long as you kill me, the 9 Cauldrons Divine Pavilion will raise the Great Xia Empire's imperial family to the ground." Shen Yong howled with laughter as he faced the sky. He wasn't the least bit worried about his own safety. "Those who threaten me usually don't have a good ending." Chapter 788. Shen Feng towards his enemies, Ningyu never showed mercy. No matter how strong your background was, he would just kill you. Moreover, even if he didn't kill you, letting you escape would only bring about endless troubles in the future. Just think about it. If he let Shen Yong go now and Shen Yong called over several more powerhouses from the 9-Furnace Divine Pavilion, the consequences would be unimaginable. Thus, Ningyu decided that it was best to kill Shen Yong as soon as possible, lest anything unforeseen happen. "Ningyu, you cannot kill me." Seeing Ningyu's killing intent, Shen Yong was finally afraid. In the past, It was always Shen Yong who threatened the lives of others. Who would have thought that today he would kick an iron plate and his life would be threatened by someone else? Looking at the situation, it seemed that Ningyu didn't want to let him go. At this time, Shen Yong was filled with regret. But there was no medicine for regret in this world. If he had known things would turn out like this, why did he do it in the first place? I have to say, you really talk a lot of nonsense. Once Ningyu decided on something, no one could change it. If he said he would kill Shen Yong, he would definitely kill him. Friend, when you do things, don't go too far. But just as Ningyu's fist was about to strike Shen Yong, a light voice suddenly resounded in the area. Hearing this familiar voice, Shen Yong was overjoyed. He hurriedly said, "Big brother, save me." Haha, before Shen Yong came to the royal family, didn't you tell him to go too far? Don't you feel a little embarrassed saying such words to me? Ningyu faintly smiled. He increased his speed once more, wanting to kill Shen Yong in one move. Humph. Refusing a toast only to drink a forfeit. Seeing Ningyu not knowing what was good for him, a cold snort sounded out from the void. Immediately, two martial artists tore through the void and appeared. One martial artist launched a powerful attack at Ningyu. As for the other martial artist, his target was Ouyang Lun. Life and death palm. Sensing the figure dashing toward him, Ningyu made a hand seal with his left hand and instantly fanned out a huge palm print. The palm print was blood red, blocking Shen Yong's big brother. Bang! Ningyu's right hand made intimate contact with Shen Yong's body. However, because Ningyu was distracted, Shen Yong seized the opportunity to dodge to the side, causing Ningyu's fist to miss his heart. Instead, it deviated slightly. Otherwise, just this one punch from Ningyu would be enough to blast Shen Yong into pieces. Even so, Shen Yong still suffered heavy injuries and was on the verge of death. Moreover, when Ningyu's fist came into contact with Shen Yong, a wisp of soul force quietly entered Shen Yong's body and went dormant. Kaka. When Shen Yong was heavily injured by Ningyu, the expression of Shen Yong's brother, Shen Feng, darkened. This is too much. This is too much. Even after knowing that Shen Yong came from the Nine Furnace Divine Pavilion, Ningyu still dared to attack Shen Yong. Perhaps he was the only one in this world. It had to be known that even within the Nine Furnace Divine Pavilion, there weren't many martial artists that dared to think of killing Shen Yong. Big brother, I want Ningyu to die without a burial. I want to grind his bones to dust. I want to cut him into pieces. I want to. Shen Yong's face was filled with malice as he glared at Ningyu. Ningyu, although I don't know where your courage comes from, I can clearly tell you that you've offended someone you shouldn't have offended. Shen Feng took a deep breath and said in a low voice, "Kneel down and kowtow to Shen Yong a few times to obtain his forgiveness. Otherwise, I'll make you beg for death. You're at the early manifestation realm." He directly disregarded Shen Feng's words, and his gaze swept over Shen Feng and the other woman. After that, he said, "She's at the half-step fortune realm. Looks like the forces of the Nine Cauldrons Divine Pavilion are quite formidable. Any random person here possesses a cultivation at the half-step fortune realm. Don't change the subject. Are you going to kneel or not?" Shen Feng coldly shouted. "Kneel? Why wouldn't I kneel?" Ningyu was puzzled. But it didn't take long for Ningyu to change the topic and say, "But the one kneeling isn't me, it's Shen Yong." When he spoke up to hear, Ningyu stopped and pondered for a moment before he continued. "If it was you, then it wouldn't be impossible." "Are you fucking kidding me?" Shen Feng had been trying his best to restrain the rage in his heart, but when he heard Ningyu's words, he finally couldn't restrain himself any longer and completely erupted. "Some people want to die, but they can't blame me." Swoosh. In Shen Feng's heart, he'd already taken Ningyu to be a dead man. The Nine Furnace Divine Pavilion did indeed need to recruit formidable geniuses, but not every branch needed geniuses. Some of the stronger branches were already saturated with geniuses, and they basically didn't need geniuses. But the branch that Shen Feng belonged to had a particularly great need for geniuses. Even so, Shen Feng didn't plan on recruiting Ningyu into his branch. This was because Ningyu was too arrogant and deserved a beating. I want to see just what sort of ability an early manifestation realm martial artist of the Nine Furnace Divine Pavilion has. On the surface, Ningyu didn't place Shen Feng in his heart. But in private, Ningyu was extremely serious. The half-step manifestation realm Shenyong was already so terrifying. Just imagine, how terrifying was the early manifestation realm Shen Feng? Thus, Ningyu's mind was highly focused. He punched out with a backhand, his fist colliding with Shen Feng's. Shua! Shua! In the next moment, the two figures rapidly retreated. What? Ningyu is this strong? Shenyong's face was filled with horror as he saw the distance Ningyu and Shen Feng had retreated. Just from the distance they retreated, Ningyu and Shen Feng were about the same. Both sides were evenly matched. But this was only the surface. Only the people involved knew who had the advantage in this strike. Shen Feng. In the first strike, Shen Feng had the absolute advantage. Although Ningyu's distance was about the same as Shen Feng's, even now, Ningyu still felt a slight swelling pain in his palm. Shen Feng should be cultivating some kind of strength-enhancing magic art. Ningyu rubbed his swollen wrist as he thought to himself. Ningyu is not simple. He can actually block my move. Compared to Ningyu's shock, Shen Feng was even more shocked. Shen Feng had used a Herculean fist technique. In the past, when Shen Feng was at the half-step manifestation realm, she could easily defeat a middle-stage manifestation realm martial artist using a Herculean fist technique. Now that Shen Feng had advanced to the early-stage manifestation realm, the power of her Herculean fist technique had increased by who knew how many times. Yet, Ningyu could still block it. From this, it could be seen that Ningyu had some skill. No matter what, Ningyu cannot be left alive. The more she knew how powerful Ningyu was, the more Shen Feng wanted to kill Ningyu. Once this kind of person was allowed to fully mature, the consequences would be unthinkable. Jiu, bring Ouyang Lun here. Although she had decided to kill Ningyu, Shen Feng also knew that Ningyu was not easy to kill. Therefore, Shen Feng wanted to use Ouyang Lun to make Ningyu hesitate and cause Ningyu to show an opening. As long as Ningyu showed an opening, Shen Feng could seize the opportunity and give Ningyu a fatal blow. Get over there. The young woman called Lone Moon kicked Ouyang Lun's back, sending him in front of Shen Feng. Shen Feng pointed at Ouyang Lun and said, Ningyu, you must have a good relationship with Ouyang Lun. If you want to save Ouyang Lun, hold on, hold on. Ningyu directly interrupted Shen Feng and said indifferently, I know what you want to say next, but I also have something to tell you. When I attacked Shenyong earlier, I secretly left a trace of soul force in his body. Chapter 789. You caused me what? You left a wisp of soul force in my body? Ningyu's words were like a bomb exploding in Shenyong's heart. Shenyong hurriedly used his insight technique to probe his body's condition. At this time, Ningyu said, You'd better not examine me, otherwise I can't guarantee what will happen. You. Hearing Ningyu's words, Shenyong froze in place. He pointed a finger at Ningyu and said, I advise you to take back the soul force in my body, otherwise no one in this world can save you. Pa. Shenyong was stupid, but that didn't mean Shen Feng was stupid. Shen Feng slapped Shenyong's face, causing him to fall flat on his face. Go to the side and stay there. Without my permission, you are not allowed to speak. Shen Feng was enraged to the extreme. Fuck, how could there be such a stupid person in this world? Moreover, this idiot was actually his own younger brother. Shameful, this was really shameful. His life was in someone else's hands and he still dared to clamor here? Big brother, you must save me. After being slapped by Shen Feng, Shenyong seemed to have become smarter. He covered his face and began to beg for help. Ningyu, take back the soul force in Shenyong's body. I will release Ouyang Lun. Shen Feng's complexion darkened. He said, opposing the Nine Furnace Divine Pavilion is unwise. If you take back the soul force in Shenyong's body, I can let you join the Nine Furnace Divine Pavilion unconditionally. I have a question. Ningyu stretched out a finger and lightly said, You didn't examine Shenyong's body, so why do you believe what I said is true? Ha ha, intuition. Shen Feng faintly smiled. Although Shen Feng said this, he didn't think so in his heart. Trusting in Ning Yu based on intuition was just a casual remark. Shen Feng had already determined that Shen Yong had a soul force left behind by Ning Yu. Otherwise, with his personality, he would have already attacked Ning Yu a second time. Why would he wait until now? Whoosh! Ouyang Lun stared at Ning Yu. His life was in the hands of Ning Yu. If Ning Yu didn't save him, he would die. Actually, it's not impossible to do this. Ning Yu looked at Ouyang Lun, pondered for a while, then said, I will withdraw the soul force from Shen Yong's body, you let Ouyang Lun go. Pa. Shen Feng snapped her fingers and said, straightforward. The corners of Shen Feng's mouth curled up slightly, but it disappeared in a flash, and no one noticed it. Come back. It seemed that Ning Yu did not notice the smile that had risen from the corner of Shen Feng's mouth. With a low roar, a strand of spiritual force flew out from Shen Yong's body. Seeing Shen Yong's soul force flying out of his body, Shen Feng hurriedly used a secret technique to examine Shen Yong. Ha ha ha. A second later, Shen Feng couldn't help but laugh out loud. Ning Yu, I really wonder how you managed to cultivate to the late yin-yang stage. Didn't anyone tell you that you can't trust the words of strangers? Ouyang Lun, I will kill you. I will also kill you. As these sinister words left his mouth, Shen Feng rose from the ground and rushed towards Ning Yu at an astonishing speed. Poochie. However, before Shen Feng could get very far, the sound of blood being sprayed sounded in his ears. Big brother, save. Poochie. Not far away, Shen Yong was bleeding from his 7 orifices, looking extremely miserable. Suddenly, Shen Yong's pleas for help came to a screeching halt. After spitting out a mouthful of blood, Shen Yong fell backwards. Plop. At this moment, the peerless genius of the 9 Cauldrons Divine Pavilion, Shen Yong, died. Ning Yu was no fool. One had to hold back when exchanging blows with an enemy. Otherwise, one wouldn't even know how they died. Ning Yu didn't completely retract Shen Yong's soul force. He still left a trace in Shen Yong's body and used a secret technique to evade Shen Feng's detection. This made things a little awkward. In other words, Shen Yong's death depended entirely on Shen Feng. If Shen Feng had obediently let Ouyang Lun go, Ning Yu wouldn't have killed Shen Yong on the spot. Instead, he would have let Shen Yong live a little longer. Swish. After killing Shen Yong, Ning Yu came to Ouyang Lun's side, grabbed him, and brought him to the side of the bronze door. It's a little dangerous here. It's better for you to wait inside. Ning Yu kicked Ouyang Lun into the bronze stone door, and then closed the bronze stone door. After doing all this, Ning Yu twisted his neck and said to Shen Feng, I express my deepest apologies for the death of your younger brother, Shen Yong. However, there's something I want to tell you. Your younger brother didn't die by my hands, but by yours. How infuriating. Shen Feng nearly went crazy. Ning Yu had killed his brother in front of him. If this matter were to spread out, how could he maintain his foothold in the 9-Furnace Divine Pavilion? I want you to die. Killing intent erupted from Shen Feng's body. The aura of the early good fortune realm was displayed without reservation. Shen Feng's overall strength should be around the late good fortune realm. As he felt the formidable aura that Shen Feng exuded, Ning Yu's complexion turned solemn. Although Shen Feng's cultivation was only at the early good fortune realm, Ning Yu was well aware that even if she faced a late good fortune realm martial artist, Shen Feng could still contend with them and even kill them. Gu, think of a way to break open that bronze door. Don't leave a single person behind, kill them all, Shen Feng said to the woman beside her as she attacked Ning Yu. Ning Yu didn't care about Gu's actions. Ning Yu didn't believe that Gu was that strong. With Gu's strength, even if she was given 8 to 10 days, she still wouldn't be able to break open the bronze door. Therefore, Ning Yu only needed to focus on dealing with Shen Feng. Rumble. In the Great Hall, Ning Yu and Shen Feng were engaged in a fierce battle. Shen Feng's cultivation was 2 or 3 small realms higher than Ning Yu's. One was at the early good fortune realm while the other was at the late yin-yang realm. In terms of strength, Shen Feng had a slight advantage. However, it was extremely difficult for Shen Feng to turn this advantage into a victory. It was basically impossible in a short period of time. Ningyu, you can't run away. I advise you to surrender, otherwise I will let you know what cruelty is. 5 minutes later, Shenfeng stopped. Her body floated in midair as she shouted in a low voice. Why should I allow myself to be captured? Although you are slightly stronger than me, killing me is harder than ascending to the heavens. Ningyu shrugged and said doubtfully. Is that so? As soon as Shenfeng finished speaking, she flicked her sleeve, and a flying sword instantly appeared in her hand. The flying sword in Shenfeng's hand was completely silver, and there was even a lifelike tiger on the blade. The tiger on the blade seemed to want to leave the flying sword, and it caused the flying sword to tremble in Shenfeng's hand. King rank. High-grade flying sword? Looking at the flying sword in Shenfeng's hand, Ningyu opened his mouth and was slightly shocked. Chapter 790. Powerful Red Devil. It's a little troublesome. Ningyu stared at the flying sword in Shenfeng's hand with an ugly expression. The Red Devil was in seclusion, so Ningyu couldn't use the Red Devil sword. If he could use the Red Devil sword, Ningyu naturally wouldn't be afraid of Shenfeng's King-grade superior flying sword. After all, the Red Devil sword had reached the King-grade superior flying sword. A King-grade superior flying sword versus a King-grade superior flying sword, especially when the two martial artists' strength was about the same, it was obvious that the martial artist with the King-grade flying sword would win. Of course, all of this was built on the premise that Ningyu could use the Red Devil sword. Now that he couldn't use the Red Devil sword, everything was just empty talk. At least you know what's good for you. Shenfeng seemed to see the worry on Ningyu's face. He snorted coldly and said sinisterly, it's a worthy death to be killed by a King-grade superior flying sword. Bang! Just when Ningyu was about to speak, a muffled sound suddenly came from the spatial ring on his wrist. Swish! Hearing the muffled sound, Ningyu's expression instantly changed from worry to ecstasy. Ningyu, I have advanced to the pinnacle yin-yang stage. The Red Devil's voice slowly sounded in Ningyu's mind. Kumo was a half-step supremacy Dan puppet, and the energy contained in his body was extremely huge. A third of the energy not only allowed the Red Devil to advance from the pinnacle yin-yang stage, but it also increased the Red Devil sword's power qualitatively. Swish! As the Red Devil's voice rang out, a red flying sword suddenly flew out of the spatial ring and landed steadily in Ningyu's hand. Holding the Red Devil sword, Ningyu closed his eyes and said indifferently, Shenfeng, if you want to kill me with a King-grade superior flying sword, we'll have to see if you have the ability. With the Red Demon sword, all the worries in Ningyu's heart were swept away. In exchange, he gained a strong sense of confidence. Acting all mysterious. Clearly, Shenfeng had never witnessed the might of the Red Demon sword. He let out a cold cry, and with the silver-white flying sword in hand, he tore through space and appeared beside Ningyu like a wild horse that had escaped its reins. Let me show you what a high-grade king-rank flying sword is. Shenfeng's eyes flashed with a terrifying light, and the silver-white flying sword in her hand slashed down from the sky. Roar! As the flying sword got closer and closer to Ningyu, the tiger on the sword actually let out a loud roar and separated from the flying sword. Its sawtooth-like teeth, its tongue as thick as an arm, and its greedy eyes all showed that this ferocious tiger had the bravery of 10,000 men. Faced with the huge tiger flying toward him, Ningyu flicked his wrist slightly, and the Red Demon sword slashed lightly in midair. Whoosh! In a split second, the sharp blade and the giant tiger came into close contact. Roar! Roar! The giant tiger let out a deafening roar. It seemed like the giant tiger wanted to use this roar to block the Red Demon's blade. However, the tiger's roar sounded more like the sound of despair. Boom! All of a sudden, the giant tiger was split into two. Ningyu, I want you dead. Shenfeng's expression changed when he saw the Red Demon sword split the tiger into two. He hurriedly injected the Yuan Qi in his body into the silver-white flying sword and slashed at Ningyu's neck. Shenfeng's attack could be said to be the most powerful move at this stage. Early stage manifestation realm cultivation and a high-grade king-rank flying sword. Even a late-stage manifestation realm cultivator would not dare to say that he could block this attack with 100% certainty. Ningyu was still expressionless in the face of all this. Ding! In mid-air, Shunfeng's silver-white flying sword collided with the red demon sword. A crisp sound rang out. Shunfeng grimaced in pain from the webbing between his thumb and forefinger, and his heart was filled with shock. What kind of flying sword is that? Could it be a high-grade king-rank flying sword as well? Shunfeng's mouth was slightly agape, a little dumbfounded. It had to be known that the flying sword he used was a high-grade king-rank flying sword. For a flying sword to not be at a disadvantage against a king-rank flying sword, it had to be at least a high-grade king-rank flying sword. Shunfeng even felt that the red flying sword in Ningyu's hand was likely a top-grade king-rank flying sword, or even an emperor-rank flying sword. Thinking of this, Shunfeng, like many other martial artists who had determined that the red demon sword was an emperor-rank flying sword, revealed a fiery expression. However, Shunfeng had overlooked one point. His cultivation was only at the early stage manifestation realm. Without using a flying sword, he could not kill Ningyu. Others had the qualifications to have fiery expressions, but he did not. Jiyu, come and help. Shunfeng was after all a peerless genius of the Nine Cauldrons Divine Pavilion, and he knew his own strength. Therefore, Shunfeng called Jiyu, who was trying hard to crack the bronze door, over. Jiyu and Shenyong had the same cultivation, half-step manifestation realm. In terms of strength, Jiyu was slightly stronger than Shenyong. Looking for help. Seeing Jiyu appear beside Shunfeng, Ningyu raised his eyebrows and lightly said, "Since that's the case, Red Demon, come out. I'll leave this Jiyu to you." Wang. As Ningyu's voice fell, the void beside him surged and a young man in red appeared. Shua. The young man was Red Demon. The first thing he did after coming out was to deal with Jiyu according to Ningyu's instructions. A mere peak yin-yang realm martial artist dares to be so arrogant in front of me. Jiyu coldly snorted when he felt the aura exuding from Red Demon. He clearly did not take Red Demon seriously. Shunfeng, 1 minute. I'll be right back. Rumble. Without waiting for Shunfeng's reply, Jiyu began fighting with Red Demon. As the saying went, there were no mediocre people in the Nine Cauldrons Divine Pavilion. Anyone who could enter the Nine Cauldrons Divine Pavilion was very strong. Jumping realms to fight wasn't a problem. In the past, Jiyu would not even look at a peak yin-yang realm martial artist like Red Demon. Now, she could not stand Red Demon's arrogant personality. A peak yin-yang realm martial artist actually dared to challenge a peerless genius of the Nine Cauldrons Divine Pavilion who was at the half-step manifestation realm? Wasn't this just looking for *T? However, what happened next was out of everyone's expectations. Even Ningyu could not believe what he saw. Bang! One move. In just one move, Jiyu, who was at the half-step manifestation realm, was defeated by Red Demon. Moreover, Jiyu was completely defeated. If it wasn't for the fact that her strength was still acceptable, then this punch from the Red Devil would have sent her to see Hades. Hongmo, why is your strength so formidable? Ningyu's eyes widened as he said in disbelief. In Ningyu's knowledge, although Red Demon had advanced to the peak yin-yang realm, his overall strength was between the early and middle manifestation realm. The strength that the Red Fiend displayed just now was at least at the late-stage creation realm. I forgot to tell you. I could have advanced to the half-step manifestation realm, but I didn't, Red Demon answered honestly. What the F***ck? At this moment, Ningyu had the urge to curse. If he had known this would happen, he definitely would not have let Red Demon deal with Jiyu. Chapter 791. Chapter 791, An Illusory Figure A. Seeing Ningyu's reaction, the Red Devil scratched his head, a little embarrassed. When he heard that Ningyu wanted him to deal with Jiyu, he did so without thinking too much about it. Ningyu. After the awkwardness, the Red Devil said, with your strength, you can even contend with a late manifestation realm martial artist, let alone an early manifestation realm martial artist. Although that's true, Shunfeng is a peerless genius of the Nine Cauldrons Divine Pavilion. If he has some powerful trump card, we won't be able to bear the consequences, Ningyu said after some thought. I'm so angry. You guys don't put me in your eyes at all. Shen Feng was a peerless genius of the 9 Cauldrons divine pavilion. How could he tolerate Ningyu and the Red Devil's sarcasm and belittling him like this? With Shen Feng's personality, he wouldn't be able to tolerate it. Thus, Shen Feng grasped his silver flying sword again and charged at Ningyu. Ningyu was the main culprit. As long as Ningyu was killed, all the problems would be solved. Refusing a toast only to drink a forfeit, Ningyu growled and slashed down with the red demon sword in his hand. Whoosh! In a split second, several rays of sword light appeared in mid-air, blasting towards Shen Feng all at once. Break for me. Shen Feng wasn't a pushover either. He also waved his silver flying sword and dozens of sword beams flew out. Catcher! 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 Inside the hall, countless sword beams collided together like a huge sword beam array. The scene was spectacular. In the center of the sword beam array, Ningyu and Shen Feng began to fight in close combat. From an outsider's point of view, Shen Feng definitely had the upper hand in close combat between Ningyu and Shen Feng. After all, whether it was in terms of cultivation or soul force, Shen Feng was stronger than Ningyu. Shen Feng's cultivation was at the early stage of the Fate realm, while Ningyu was only at the late stage of the Yin-Yang realm. Shen Feng's soul force was at the early stage of the 7th grade, while Ningyu's was only at the peak of 6th grade. In this way, Shen Feng did indeed have the upper hand. But that was not the case. In terms of perception, Ningyu wasn't just a little bit stronger than Shen Feng. In his previous life, Ningyu had been a Sky Supreme. Ordinary cultivators couldn't even compare to him in perception. Bang! After a few moves, Ningyu seized the opportunity and punched Shen Feng's chest. The enormous force caused Shen Feng to retreat a few meters back. Poochie! Shen Feng vomited a mouthful of dark red blood. His face was filled with terror. Shocking. It was extremely shocking. Shen Feng held his chest and said in a low voice, Ningyu, who exactly are you? Why is your perception so strong? Originally, Shen Feng wanted to rely on close combat to defeat Ningyu. But who would have imagined that Ningyu's perception was so much stronger than his? They weren't on the same level at all. Things didn't go according to plan. In the end, Ningyu easily defeated him. Shen Feng regretted it so much that his intestines turned green. But there was no medicine for regret in the world. Shen Feng could only stabilize Ningyu first and fight for time to use his one and only trump card. I don't think I need to tell you why my perception is so strong, right? Ningyu placed his hands behind his back and shrugged. Don't think that I don't know. Shen Feng snorted coldly. Pu. Shen Feng's cold snort stopped abruptly before he finished speaking. Because Shen Feng noticed that Yu had suddenly appeared behind Ningyu. Moreover, her eyes were wide open and her face was filled with terror. You! How did you notice me? You didn't dare believe everything before her eyes. After all, she used a secret technique and only spent 0.001 seconds to appear behind Ningyu. Ningyu's quick reaction had indeed exceeded her expectations. Most importantly, it wasn't that Ningyu noticed her but that Ningyu had responded by punching her heart. Haha, you forgot that Hong Mo has been paying attention to you. Ningyu turned around and said with a faint smile. I'm sorry, my perception was always on you. When you disappeared, I notified Ningyu immediately. Hong Mo looked at Yu apologetically and said. Fart. Yu spat out another mouthful of blood when she heard Hong Mo's words. Her body fell backward. You killed Yu. Yu's death caused Shen Feng's body to tremble uncontrollably. The anger on her face was obvious. Shen Feng didn't have such a reaction when Shen Yong was killed not long ago. It was obvious that Yu's position in Shen Feng's heart was much higher than Shen Yong's. Ningyu was rather curious about this point. Shen Feng hadn't been too close to Yu in the beginning, but now that Yu was dead, Shen Feng was acting like this. It was inevitable that she was crying crocodile tears. However, Ningyu didn't want to ask about Shen Feng and Yu's messy relationship. There was only one thought in Ningyu's mind, and that was to kill Shen Feng as soon as possible to avoid any unforeseen events. Solitaire. Ningyu waved the red demon sword and an astonishing sword wave appeared. Shunfeng fished out a jade pendant from her sleeve as she looked at the astonishing sword wave in the air. Rip! Shunfeng used her flying sword to cut her finger, and all the blood in her body was absorbed by the jade pendant. In the end, Shunfeng was as thin as a matchstick and couldn't even stand properly. Crack! When the blood in the jade pendant reached its limit, it cracked and shattered. An illusory figure appeared where the jade pendant was. Rumble. As soon as the illusory figure appeared, he casually threw out a palm and easily scattered the solitaire that Ningyu had slashed out. Shunfeng, call me over. You. After scattering the solitaire, the illusory figure wanted to say something, but he saw Jiyu on the other side. In other words, he must have seen Jiyu being killed by Ningyu on the other side. Who killed you? The illusory figure's aura erupted and crazily pressed down on Shunfeng. Crack! Shunfeng was already as thin as a matchstick. Now that she was suppressed by the illusory figure's aura, she instantly fell to the ground. It's Ningyu. Shunfeng used all the strength in her body to say. After saying this, all the strength in Shunfeng's body was sapped, and she panted heavily. Ningyu. The illusory figure turned to stare at Ningyu and said coldly, "What you used just now was the Supreme Nine Purities Temple's Nine Purities sword art. If I'm not wrong, you're from the Supreme Nine Purities Temple." However, the illusory figure changed the topic and berated, "Jiyu is my younger sister. You killed her. Even if God came, he wouldn't be able to save you. What you said is very interesting. Are you saying that only Jiyu is allowed to kill me, but I'm not allowed to kill her?" Ningyu said lightly, "That's right. Only Jiyu can kill you, but you can't kill her." The illusory figure said coldly. Haha, what kind of *T logic is that? If your real body came, I might be a little afraid. But your current strength is only at the later stage of manifestation, not even the peak of the manifestation realm. Do you think I'll be afraid of you? Ningyu said lightly with a smile. Sharp-tongued. Do you think I'm only at the later stage of manifestation? A cold look appeared on the illusory figure's face. His eyes turned cold, and his aura increased again. Buzz. After a while, the illusory figure's aura increased from the later stage of manifestation to the peak of the manifestation realm. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.